Welcome back to the Fast Life podcast, which is brought to you by my guys at Simpson Motorcycle Helmets. For the last 5 years, these dudes have been keeping my head safe and looking badass. Check them out at simpsonmotorcyclehelmets.com, where you can find out all about their products, brand, and things to make your helmet game strong. Check them out, Simpson Motorcycle Helmets, on the gram as well. And yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Today's episode, we have Ray from Harley Showcase. And for you guys that's been listening to the podcast for a while, or maybe just involved in the scene, have known that we've had some differences of opinion. So in doing so, what better way to solve issues or misunderstandings than to do a podcast about it? So I want to thank Ray for sitting down and opening up his garage, his home, to us to come do this podcast, talk about our differences, and get past it. So let's check out these sponsors, and then we're going to jump right into this episode. House of Harley Davidson, located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, has your HD covered with the performance upgrades we all want, along with service, sales, and a stacked parts department. Head on over to houseofharley.com, where you can order the parts you need for your bike, along with all the best gear and clothing available. Drop the Fast Life offer code to save yourself 13% on your online purchases, and give these guys a follow at House of Harley on Instagram. Lexin Moto is my Bluetooth headset company and has been for over 3 years now. The quality and sound and battery life make those long days on the open road much more enjoyable. Their latest headset, the G16, is designed to make group rides much better with a 16-rider comm system, Bluetooth 5.0 music sharing, and fast USB-C charging. Among the many things Lexin does for our motor community, they also offer the best customer service in the industry. The team at Lexin just dropped their new Lexin Smart Tire Pump as well, which is a portable tire pump that can fit easily in your saddlebags. Check out lexin-moto.com to see all the awesome products, which are all designed to make life on two wheels better. And don't forget to drop the Fast Life offer code at checkout to save yourself 15%. And lastly, give these guys a follow on Instagram at Lexin Moto. Thundermax and their ECM computers are designed to provide your EFI-equipped Harley Davidson with the most advanced auto tuning on the market. And they just released their modules for the 2021 and up HD models. A Thundermax ECM eliminates tuning hassles when upgrading your exhaust or air cleaner, or when adding a cam or big bore kit. Thundermax is also in the suspension game with their iRide rear suspension. This is a performance air ride, which gives you the ability to adjust many aspects from the handlebar mounted touchscreen. This rear suspension is the best of both worlds. Check out these products at shoptmax.com and use offer code FASTLIFE to save yourself 10% off, and follow Thundermax EFI on Instagram. I have been riding with Lucky Dave's seats and handlebars on almost all my bikes since 2016, and I'm happy to announce their partnership with us here at the Fast Life podcast. Their seats have always been the perfect fit for my ass, and with that trademark styling that I've come to love from the LD brand. Lucky Dave's also has some of the most dope handlebar options, from their classic San Diego bar to their Peacemaker bar and riser combos. They got what you need. I'm personally running the Peacemaker bars on both my T-Sport and Bagger. Head on over to luckydaves.com to check out all of their options for your HD, and grab yourself some swag while you're there. And lastly, give my guys a follow on Instagram at Lucky Daves. Now here's Ray and the Harley Showcase. Let's go.
Hey guys, you ready to let the dogs out?
Fast Life Podcast.
Go for it.
Yeah, when we first started, it was that little like interface, that little bitty square one right there on my bag. That's what we had to use, because in the beginning they didn't really make stuff for podcasting. You just had to repurpose like audio recordings for like musicians and shit like that. And so since then, like even that company Zoom, they sell like all these like pod tracks and all this shit that's designed for doing this type of stuff. So
I've seen one of those. I've been looking at one of those little suckers.
It helps for on the road, you know what I mean, when you want to get out.
So.
But this road right here is just so much better and cleaner.
This is what you have at your studio?
At the studio, yeah.
So yours is permanent. You leave it all set up.
When I travel in the car, I'll take that, because it sounds better than that thing does. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
But fuck, on the bike, I'm packed to the gills as it is right now with clothes for a month and shit like that. So
yep.
Well, Ray, thanks for doing this, and thanks for loaning your studio to us.
So garage, homeboy.
I started mine in my garage.
It's a studio when it needs to be.
I guess that's true.
Dave, it's good to see you again. It's been a while.
Likewise, Jace.
And then, of course, we got El Dragon over here. Is that how you say it in Latin?
In Latin? You mean in Mexican Spanish?
We have Mexicans here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway.
El Dragon, I guess, yeah.
There you go. That sounds fucking way sexier.
That sound better?
I don't deserve it that way.
Well, as awkward as it may seem, man, I don't really know how to start this off, but I'd like to get it over with. You know what I mean? I don't really know 100% all the issues and whatnot, but I do appreciate a conversation about it, because I'll be the first one to tell you that when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You know what I mean? Like if I say something, or if I put something out there, or whatnot, and then it turns out that I'm just full of shit, then it's like that sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And I guess I'll just go fuck myself. You know what I'm saying? So, but you know, to clear that up so that we can move on to some more other things that is more about your brand, and even the Live Fast Rally and things like that. What you got?
You know what, man? I'll be straight with you. Mm-hmm. When you say that you're when you say when you're wrong, I guess, and you'll take it. I do the same.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a man of I'm a man of that. I own up to things that I do, and so what I will own up first and foremost is casting, I guess, the first stone in that sense, you know. Yeah. And I own that, but more in the sense it's never been anything of any sort of hate, dislike, anything like that. Yeah. Right. These guys right here, Dave knows my background, my history, what my involvement is, I guess, in this community, and my culture, my upbringing, I guess, in this culture, this is it goes back. You know, my old man was a what do you call him, a dirty old biker. I mean, that's what you would call him, you know. And so I guess my take, my on this culture, on how it's supposed to be maybe represented, is obviously maybe different than maybe we're going to come to terms right now. We're going to fucking have a little, you know, meeting of the minds in that sense. But my interpretation of this culture and how it's lived and how it's represented and the way I feel it should, I guess, be represented is just maybe a little bit, obviously, a difference than maybe at least what I perceived, right? I mean, I can only go based off of what I hear, what I see off of you. And beyond that, that's all I can make my judgment off of. Now, again, I will take full responsibility for saying I cast the first stone, but that's just my personality, man. I'm not necessarily one to. I can be an asshole, you know, like up front, like,
dude, I can too. Trust me.
So, but I mean, I guess I'm just one of those guys that when it comes down to it, if I have something I want to say, I will say it. Yeah. And more importantly for me, when I have something I want to say about somebody, I want to make sure that that person knows that it came from or what the source was. Didn't hear from a third party. So that's it, dog. You know, the stone was cast for, I guess, that reason, and that was the thinking behind it, the feeling behind it. So, but beyond that, man, there's no disrespect or hate. Like, it's very hard for me to hate somebody. You know, very hard.
Well, I mean, like I said, as far as like on the notion of the way we've represented it, or I have, like, I'm still like, I don't know, like how I portrayed things that were maybe inaccurate to, you know, your world. I
guess I wouldn't say inaccurate. I guess here's I guess, let me ask you this question. Okay. Would you call yourself, or would you consider yourself, I hate to say this word, an influencer? It's a loaded question.
I hate saying that, but when it boils down to it, yes. I mean, a lot of what we do has some kind of impact or influence on individuals and communities and brands. So
absolutely, you know, and I would even go as far, even with my small following, to a degree, that I would consider myself in that category, right? People are looking at you, no matter whether it's a small volume of people or a large volume of people. And I guess in the way I interpret it, the way I see it is, you got a responsibility when at least when you're at the level I think that you're at. I think you have a little bit of responsibility to the culture of this Harley shit, you know, and I guess to me, the way that is portrayed now, or at least the way that I see it on the screen or hear it through the podcast or whatever, or most of the time I'll be straight with you, hearing it from my friends. Because, I mean, I got kids, I got all that shit, man. So, Jace said, and so that's how I hear it, you know?
Yeah.
But to be straight with you, man, it's just more of there's that responsibility, and maybe it's just a simple matter of I see it that it should be represented. I guess maybe the more of the way that I feel like I'm representing it right now. Yeah. Versus maybe the level. And maybe it's because of the level that you're at, like the level that you've taken it to. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe the roots of it when it was podcast number 1. Yeah. Podcast number 10. Maybe it was a little bit different, you know, and I've never listened that far back. But that's the meat and the potatoes of it, man. That's really the only reason that I was like, hey, here's Ray. I think this from this town in Ventura where we rep. This is to us, this area right here. It's a lot of influence on a lot of the culture. Huge. So we take that, I guess, not to heart, but we take pride in it.
I'm probably going to assume that your friends probably have issues when I say that when we talk about performance baggers, when we talk about what we, as far as we on the other side of the Rockies, have done to help promote the scene. You know what I mean? I get that that's probably always going to be a hard thing for anybody to hear, whether I'm right or wrong. I guess I never really have a chance to sit there and think about how I want to portray it, right? But now that obviously preparing for this, 'cause I knew it had to be somewhere in that kind of realm, but we have done so many podcasts and actually got to the root of some of the original dudes that put on T-bars back in the early 2000s on road glides. Yeah, obviously T-bars have been around forever. Right. You know, we all know the club that started that, right? Yep. But the way that bike looks, there was a couple people here in California doing it, right? And then nobody else was doing it. It was all FXRs, Dynas, and that culture, and then obviously the Viklas and things like that, right? Yep. And then, so you got like San Diego Customs. They were some of the first custom show-looking bikes, like with Danny G and those guys. Kraus up there had a couple things, but their stuff's more, like, I don't know, like more solid colors. They're not really show bikes. They just look really good. You know what I'm saying? Yep. And then you got like, you know, MJK had a big influence. You know what I mean? I always like look at it like this. Like, of course, every time I've had that conversation or said it, I've had people reach out to me and go, that shit came from here. And I was like, you're misinterpreting what I'm saying, and I'm probably doing a shitty job at saying that. I'm not saying it didn't come from here, but also not saying that our influence didn't make it happen too. So I always like to look at it like this, and this might sound like a jab, but I don't mean it that way. Indian was first. Doesn't mean that Harley it has no purpose anymore. We all ride Harleys, right? So there's a lot of people that do shit first in California, but they don't do it on the gram, right? And then you would probably say, we're not for that. Well, then you can't complain that the world doesn't know it exists. You know what I'm saying?
I think I appreciate what you and your format has brought to the motorcycle community, especially when it comes to performance. And started out with FXRs and Dynas, you know, listening to you way back in the day. And then when it came to baggers, I fully appreciate all that you've brought. I think the only issue that California people would have is that there may not, in the early days, have been given enough props for the shoulders that you were able to stand upon.
Agreed.
And I think that, like, that right there, that's kind of like nail on the head. And it's a trip because Dave and I don't think we've ever even discussed this. Nope. I'm sure it's just him kind of following along with what I do, and he lives next door. We ride all the time, and we've never discussed exactly what he just said right now. And that's exactly what I guess I guess you can call it aggression. I'll be straight with it. I said, I guess if we can call it my aggression or my came from is exactly that, and is. I guess I not want to see, because I'm not here to tell you how to be or anything, but I guess more of a, hey, we got our flavor from here a little bit. We saw it early in the game, and I guess just a little homage, at least where it came from. I'm very humble from where my roots came from. I know exactly where my roots came from. I know why I have that truck and that one, because my old man, that's what I grew up in, and what I do, what I represent, never changes.
For sure, but you're from here. I'm from the other side of the Rockies, so if I don't see it, then I can't promote it.
I agree.
Well, and I think,
and I don't have the time to come out here and go, hey, knocking on doors to see if you guys have performance baggers out here or not.
No. But we're not. I don't think we're saying that.
Yeah.
I think it's more of. I get it. We're from here, but when you see it, like, okay, let's say, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that's fucking out of here.
I think one good example was your first podcast with Joe Gerardo.
Yeah.
And, he told the story of him showing up on his Dyna and then ripping with guys in the Bay Area on FXRs. And he gave those roots. And he talked about his dad, who lived right here in Fillmore for a long time. And it gave that tie back to where, okay, this is where it came from.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know. I guess you'd probably have to listen to every episode to understand that I've been doing that pretty heavily.
Yes.
But as far as Ventura is concerned, other than knowing you and Vic, that's the only people I knew from Ventura.
Well, in Bay Area, I mean,
and we've done that in the Bay Area. We've sat down with guys, like I said, that have been at Nest forever. That just tons of that. Like, we've done so much history-based stuff on things, but without some kind of ambassador, which now you can take that role for Ventura, because not that you want it.
You're tripping, homeboy. I ain't trying to be that or represent that. I'm not. I mean, legit, like, you're looking at me like I might be tripping, like not wanting to accept that title. That's my humbleness. That's me. This scene here in this town is so much fucking bigger than what I do right here in the city.
I mean, motorcycles are all bigger than all of us, right? And culture across the board is bigger than us. But as far as trying to put it out there for I can only assume that your listenership for your show is not just in this area; it's nationwide, if not worldwide, right? So, I mean, I have a responsibility for the entire country to try to expose all these areas and these people that are doing rad shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I don't know. I understand how it could feel probably overlooked from my perspective. Like, damn, this dude's going everywhere. He's talking to all these people. He's putting up, performance baggers on a pedestal from all these other people. But you guys know your culture here and how it all started, but I don't. And I don't know. What I'm trying to say is,
it was out of not knowing, not out of malice.
Yeah, I'm not trying not to promote it, but if I don't like...
No, and you're doing a killer job promoting the scene, and you're getting the word out in a great way.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah. There's what you do for the community, like what you do for enthusiasts is great. And like, I guess the double-edged sword on that is what you do for the community is great, but then there's also a whole new community that keeps flooding in that you also, in the sense, like it or not, or accept it or not, I guess because of what you've done to this point, have a responsibility or somewhat to make sure that it's like, hey, this is... And I guess sometimes it just doesn't come across that way from over here. Now, I heard you say, like, I didn't grow up here. Yeah, I know you didn't grow up here. But where'd you get the flavor from? Where'd you get the taste from? Where did you see it?
Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, okay.
So where did that come from?
Okay, where did that go from? Where was that based?
Charming, dude.
I know. I found it the same place that a lot of people found it.
I fell in love with these bikes when I was up in NorCal working on big wheel baggers, right? Yep. They would fly me up there to paint these bikes, and every day dudes would come over to the shop and they'd be on fucking tall ass Dyna'd out or T-barred out Dynas and shit. I was like,
yeah.
The Dynas like that in Texas at the time, they didn't look like that. They had get back whips. They had fucking forward controls.
They still do.
It's changing. A lot of thanks to you.
I'm busting your balls, man. I'm busting your balls, dog.
So yeah, for sure. That's where I fell. I started to see these more and more in person, not just on the TV show, right? Because when the TV show came out, I didn't have I had no desire to ride that bike. I was fucking turning my stereo up and trying to fucking look like Limp Bizkit down the road. You know what I mean? But the culture looked fun. The people that rode it looked like they were having fun. They weren't in some dick measuring contest about how much money they spent on their bikes. I love that. It was about riding them.
Yep.
And that's what since I bought my first Dyna, came in this culture as someone that's been, so I'm more from the motorcycle industry than the culture of motorcycles, if that makes sense.
And I myself, like, on that note, you know, thinking about it, I'm like, okay, this guy approaches it from a different sense. He's in the business of it.
Yeah.
I get it. You're looking at it also through different goggles and stuff, but you also grew up in it. Like, you've been.
I grew up around it.
You knew you kind of know the subculture, I guess, to it in sense. So when it boils down to it, homeboy, it's really just of homage. But do you feel that is, I guess, due or not, or given, or should be, or is it like?
I feel like bikers shouldn't be entitled.
I'm not asking for entitlement,
and I think scenes shouldn't be, because, I mean, we could all play that game. You know, I could get into this headspace that I deserve more credit for what I've done, right? But it just doesn't, like, it never comes off good to people when they hear people talk like that. You know, it's almost like it's like if your wife tells you to buy flowers for her because you never do, and then you buy it. It's like it doesn't have the same meaning anymore, right? I don't think that. I think everything should be exposed, whether or not they want to be or not. That's another thing. But I don't know, man. Like, I don't necessarily. I've never wanted to not expose this area and all the badassness to it. You know what I'm saying? I just never. I tried to get Vic on the podcast a million times. He barely just did it.
I hear you say this area. Yeah. I don't think it's necessarily, I would say, this area. I'm not looking for anything out of, like, this specific Ventura County, Southern California. My mindset was never that.
Yeah.
Because even I got my flavor, I got my style, I got my T-bars on my bike because I saw somebody up in NorCal doing that shit.
Yeah.
I was living a different style, and I was up in the NorCal area, and I'm like, fuck, that's hard. Well, for me, it wasn't dope. It was like, fuck, that is complete for the type of riding I'm doing, what I'm doing, how I'm going, where I'm going. That's the setup that I fucking need. It wasn't like dope. It was that set up for the style that I need to fucking I'm riding. And that's where I got my shit from, was right here. Like, I didn't see it in New York. I didn't see it in Texas. I didn't see it anywhere else. So I'm not saying you representing the area, the style of bikes.
Yeah, for sure.
That's where it's not area. It's not a West Coast, East Coast thing. It ain't any of that shit, homeboy. It ain't any of that. It's, go ahead.
So right here, we have Daveman Art.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that we greatly appreciate here in California is that culture.
Yeah.
And there was that culture in the 60s, in the 70s, all different pockets of the country. But we know where it comes from. You know, you look at that set of drag bars on that bike and how it's set up, and we appreciate, okay, those are the shoulders that we stand upon now. Yeah. Not that we have the shit.
Yeah.
We love to ride. We love to, you know.
Well, it's a good thing a Midwest guy came out here and drew that for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Expose the culture, because like I said, Daveman, obviously a huge staple in motorcycling in general, anything V-twin related, right?
Absolutely.
He really captured the essence of what it is to be a biker.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, like you just said, it's everything. But I just rode PCH yesterday, dude.
Yep.
Riding through Santa Barbara on the coast, it's like, it's a fucking vibe here. 100%.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but at the same time, like, I don't know how to appease everybody's.
You don't have to appease everyone.
You know, and my job is, like,
you never will.
I'm a painter that rides bikes here and there, right? And then you get wrapped up in these passionate conversations sitting in a place just like this with the bikes, and we're all just drinking beers and talking shit, right? You know, maybe busting each other's balls. Yep. And sometimes when you listen to things audio-wise, you don't see each other's eyes.
Of course.
You don't see that I'm fucking with you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And sometimes it might be like, I had a really heated debate with John Jessup about this stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, and I'm sure that's the one that most people would think. And I love him to death, but he kind of bowed out with the whole, if you like it, I love it kind of thing, which I get it from a business standpoint. But when I think about the first guy I saw on T-bars was in NorCal, the first bike that I saw that was done up that made me want to do one, there's 3 bikes, right? It was Mod Glide in NorCal, it was MJK, and it was Race Glide out of Boston. Those 3 bikes are the ones that looks like fun.
Yeah.
For me in Texas, and I'm back and forth to NorCal the whole time, but those are the bikes that were more appealing to me. I know that Big Bear was out doing shit. I know Kraus was there. I know San Diego Customs had done a couple things with Danny G, But those are the ones that influenced me.
I'm curious because I haven't followed forever. Okay.
Yeah.
So when was that?
2016.
2016. Okay.
I finished my FXR. I bought my FXR in 16. I bought my first bagger middle of 2017 and then got it kind of done, air quotes, at the end of the month.
Okay.
Let me ask you this. Growing up in Texas and being where you are now, what are the things that carry over from that old culture that are also shoulders that you now stand upon?
Honestly,
besides riding in the flats. There's a whole lot of flats in Texas.
There's not much of anything when it comes to that. I don't really look at Texas as much of the bike culture as you do out here. Obviously, there is history there, obviously, but it's not like, it was never appealing to me at my age, right? I grew up on sport bikes, right? And the industry took me into Harleys, not the passion for Harleys, right? But once I got a taste of it, once the industry put me into it, I was like, this is fucking awesome, right? And then I fell in love with riding more than I fell in love with being I guess a paint shop or wherever the fuck, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so the California style, this type of bike, this type of riding, the chopper scene, you know what I mean? That was a big influence to me. I just wasn't really wanting to do chopper shit, if that makes sense. Totally. I wanted to do chopper partying and
old
the whole
shit.
Vagabond fucking, 21 days under the sun kind of vibe. Like, I love that, but I wanted to do it on the type of bike I wanted to do it on.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's kind of like a cesspool of influence that made me want to go a different direction, right? Yep. But there was dudes in Texas already ripping FXRs. That's been a thing out there for a while, and there was a bunch of dudes all over Texas that were into Dynas and FXRs and that style, but it was like 5 people in this town, 6 over here. You know what I mean? It was just so...
Well, and props to you because you connected
that's
a lot of those people.
And that's what we were trying to... I mean, obviously, I was never trying... I mean, this started happening in like 17 before we did the podcast, right? So, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I've ever said, hey, I didn't fucking fall in love with this style of bike because I saw it in Tennessee. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, but I just don't know how much I'm supposed to bow down.
It ain't even like... I think maybe you're approaching it wrong. I would consider myself maybe, and it doesn't come across that way, a pretty humble person. And I would never bow down to anybody or anything. Yeah. Personally myself, so I wouldn't ask another man to do any of that either. But I have no problem. I can separate paying respect to, let me just take it back to back in the day when I was doing my shit as a youngster. I could pay respect to the older guys that went ahead and paved that shit for that hood to be alive, so to speak, as a staple on the map. I could pay respect to that without bowing down. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's where just where the separation comes from. But talking to you a little bit more in this sense, I'm hearing it like this is good. This is good. And we should and we could have had this conversation, of course, over the phone, but I think this is best. I mean, this is the best way to have eye to eye. That's it.
The way that I've tried to bring the yesteryear culture into how it's relevant now is by sitting down with these brands that kind of help shape the motorcycle industry. Obviously, the industry and the culture are two different things, but they both need each other in a sense. The industry doesn't exist without the culture, and the culture needs something to go do.
So let me put
the shows make.
So you the industry and the culture, right?
Yeah.
Well, because of you being involved in the industry, you are now part of the culture.
Yeah, for sure.
And especially now with your following and stuff, So I
think the other thing that I'm just now kind of maybe spitballing here is that the big wheel bagger thing was never big in SoCal.
I had one.
You definitely had one.
But it was not big. There was people here because I was going to NorCal to paint them, but it was still, you'd be at a Dixon show in NorCal and there'd be like 5 big wheels and like 400 Dynas and clean ass T-Sports and all this other shit, right? So it was never big the way it was in Arizona, right? And then Texas had a pocket. Texas was never as big as Arizona, but you had Texas. So North Carolina had a big scene. Everywhere there was like an Easy Rider show, there seemed to have like a big wheel bagger community in it, right? So the whole other side of the Rockies have been on baggers. There's a lot of people that were. And I think that when this thing started to kick off, wherever it came from, it's one of the first scenes that we saw emerge on social media, even though I know there was something, a tree fell over there. We never heard it, but it was over there. And then
we're not fucking gatekeepers.
Yeah,
right? That's not what this is about.
I think that what happened was people were already on baggers, and a lot of people didn't want to go back to a Dyna, right? So when the performance bagger thing came along, it was an easy transition for a guy that has a little bit of money, can throw something at it. A lot of dudes asked me, like, dude, why did you go from that bagger you had to an FXR? I was like, this fucking thing is amazing.
Yeah.
There's a whole there's so much history. It's like every bike shop that was around the 90s had to build one of these to kind of get their foot in the door, if you will. It was like a rite of passage for a bike shop or a builder or whatever, right? And then of course all the other history along with it, like the culture side of it, you know, it's
and
the
functionality. I mean, most of what came out from the West Coast was built on the function of how riding happens out here.
For sure, exactly. I mean, that's why you would see like choppers that were built in the Midwest, they have a D-rake, they're a lot more different. And then of course you get the Phoenix stuff where it's like as long as it's garage basically. And it's just you build for the type of riding and roads. I mean, dude, New York, going to New York was a culture shock. You know what I mean?
What the fuck to ride out there?
They ride that shit, and I mean, I don't know. Like I said, there's obviously the club that designed a lot of that is there too. So it's like you got to think it all kind of went hand in hand, you know. They're doing shit here, and then there's a fucking run in the middle of the country, and then bam, fucking spreads like COVID, right?
Yep. Fuck COVID. I'm sorry. I won't go down that road.
I do think that the performance bagger thing just took off quicker because people were already on baggers, and this looked like the new trend. And it was fun to ride. I do it because I want to travel on it, as you guys probably know. That's what I want to do, and it fits the bill for me. You're like, riding here, I'm like, fuck, man, I wish I didn't have these bags. It's way harder to split, you know. But at the same time, you know, fast like the Dynas that are passing us. Yeah,
it's a great format, no doubt.
So,
well,
but I mean, at the same time, I know that you are just there's issues with some of the other guys too, like the proper baggers and Steve Chamberlain and all these other guys. And
hold on, let me say something about Steve real quick, okay? Let me just make sure I say my my piece and my say on that shit.
Yeah.
Only reason I talk shit about Homeboys because you guys are all kind of just like, to me, you guys are the same group. You guys are homies. You guys are the same kind of clique and shit, right? So you guys are that representation. And to us over here, some of us would say the mentality of gatekeeper, so to speak. That's just, you know. So Homeboy, though, I made, like I said earlier, I will make when I will fess up to something. And after watching him and doing what he's doing, I give Homeboy props. Yeah. Homeboy's out there actually like riding, pounding, and so are you. You're out here like on a trip.
I can't ride like he can, but you know.
And that's where I think that's where like guys like myself and Dave, and now I'm watching Steve do what I would love to do on a track, but I do it over here in these canyons right here. But I'm watching somebody ride aggressive and fucking rip like that because I want to see you ride. I've never seen you fucking ride. I don't know if you can ride from a fucking hole in the ground. I don't know. Can you go in a straight line really fast? Yeah, so can I. But can you go can you ride in a canyon?
I would say,
what would you 1 to 10 rate yourself?
I would say that just like, why does how I cook my steak matter to another man? I'm here on a bike. You can check my odometer. So
I'm not talking about that portion of it. I'm simply.
Can you ride across country?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Without a doubt.
So there's like, could I ride as fast as you? No, but I could take you to Dallas on those flat ass roads and probably outrun you on some shit too, because you don't know the roads, right?
I don't need to know a straight road. Well, I'm not trying to get into a dick combat.
We all ride in the context that we live or we travel to.
Yeah.
And to me, that's not a huge thing. But I think we all respect people who can ride well, who have that skill set their bikes up to be able to do what the bikes shouldn't do. Harleys were by and large never made to do the shit we're doing on them. And I respect people who can do that.
Yeah, I mean 100%. I mean, there's a lot of I never really like wanted to be a better, I mean, everybody wants to be a good rider, but I never really was trying to get better at like my ability to carve canyons. until I started riding the FXR, right? And the FXR, you know, especially taking it, because I'd ridden PCH many times on the big wheel, and that time just boating it through that bitch, right? Then all of a sudden you get the FXR, and it's like I bought all these parts that are supposed to, you know, the ignorance of it, they're supposed to make me faster, right?
Right.
And then there's like, oh shit, like I need to learn how to do this. I need to learn how to come in and out of corners. And that's one of the, you know, earlier days when Steve was on the podcast, he would help me like, hey man, you know, come in on the brake, blah, blah, blah. You know, everybody does it differently, but you know, that was one of the things I wanted to be better at. And I actually wanted to go to the track days too, but I fucking have enough shit on my plate right now, and I just don't have the time.
That's
you know?
called life. I get that, man. I got a 21-month-old and a 6-month-old. I got life, dog, and I got this. What I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I got everything else, so that's called life. I get that. I'd love to be on the track, but you know, again, Steve, I've watched him recently do his shit. Guy's out there traveling, throwing his bike in the back of it, and he's riding it. Yeah, I give props to that shit. I give it, you know, he's doing his shit. Okay, you're riding across country and doing it in that sense. Yeah. To answer your question, can I do that? Yeah, I can do both.
And that's why I always say it's like, you know, it's. I know that it's not hard to ride a country. It's all here for people that can or cannot ride across country, and financially and time off work and shit like that. But same thing when we used to ride the big wheel across country. It's like, oh, you can't ride those anywhere. I'm like, well, I rode them. Yep. Did I ride them the way you ride them in your canyons? No, it's impossible. You know what I mean? But I did ride it through that canyon. It just took me another 15 minutes to get to the other end of it.
Yeah. Well, and we all learn from people who were around, and if they ride this way and they're gracious enough to bring you up and teach you how to ride that way, then you learn.
Exactly.
I mean, everyone just learns. Sometimes they learn by getting socked in the face. You know? Hey, you don't split on that side. Yeah, because you're going to get us all walled up.
Yeah.
But you learn.
Learning curve, But I understand, man. I get it. I get, you know, the perspective that you're putting out about, like, there's obviously Ventura has always been known. SoCal, fucking California in general has been known for so many things, especially motorcycle related, for the history of motorcycles. You know what I'm saying? So I understand that. But at the same time, like I said, the pride, maybe I'm down to come out here and talk to people and bring them on the page. But I'm always, you know, maybe one thing that I will claim some arrogance on is that I nobody fucking helped me get here. You know, I painted, I busted my ass to get everything I have. You know what I'm saying? And even the fact of being able to ride out here, it's like this shit isn't cheap. I mean, I'm on the road for a month. You know what I'm saying?
I thought about that shit too. I'm like, Homeboys fucking doing so many miles with gas prices the way they are.
Yeah, I had gas.
Yeah, I know.
Welcome to California.
I had gas and a credit card, and the credit card's like halfway now, so I've been doing good. I kind of want to lean into it more now.
We're gonna pass a hat in a minute.
Yeah, but I do. When I guess for us is like, you know, the other side of the country, like all of our group of friends, none of us live close. You know what I mean? Like the closest dude that lives to us is like Justin, my machinist, which is 350 miles away. Wow. Which isn't much. I guess that's the Bay Area from here.
Yeah, roughly. It's a ways.
Okay, I know those are your friends, but how come there's nobody else in the area that you're like in that would like fit in with that clique? Nobody else.
There's a ton. I got my whole crew of dudes, but I'm saying like the guys that are more known on social media, they're kind of spread out, but we all come together to hang out and party and do shit. Gotcha. Whether it's in the Smokies or Sturgis or Florida or our camp out. So I mean, you know, Joe Kidd's a part of that. He's always, he comes to our camp out every year. He brings some other cats from NorCal. You know, fuck, me and him we're joking. This is the first trip we've done that we didn't hang out with Joe Kidd in some part of the country. Right. Last year we were in Maine. This dude was in Boston holding court in the fucking Airbnb telling us about this pregnant chick him and his buddy tag teamed. You know what I'm saying? I should have that. That shit's ancient history. He's okay with that.
No, that would never happen.
But it's just been, you know, like I said, there's, you know, I guess we, you know, like I said, I ride to California at least once a year. Usually at least once a year. I have been 2018 is the only year I didn't ride out here, and that I drove out here 3 times. So that was that year I brought my daughter. So me and you, we all went down to the pier area. I guess that's what that was.
Pier pump.
Yeah. But you know, like I said, I try to come out here and do podcasts. And I'll be honest with you, when I come out here, I try to get a lot of brands on because brands are going to help the exposure because somebody in the country's like, oh shit, I've always wanted to hear from Bassani and know more about their pipes, right?
I get it.
So there's like a balance of brands, more people of culture, like the culture of people and things like that, and the culture side's hard to capture sometimes because who wants to be the ambassador and who wants to be the one to talk about it?
Yeah.
And
we're not fucking ambassadors.
Yes,
we are not gatekeepers. Please.
Like I think you've got to make sure. Like I think that there's plenty of more people out there that would talk about it than you think.
Yeah.
That hopefully, I can't speak for everyone, but I 100% am with like Dave right now. I am not a gatekeeper. I'm not an ambassador. I'm not shit, man.
Yeah.
We just fucking do our thing around here.
We do our shit, but I mean, I represent the area that I'm fucking from, and I make sure to represent it the way that I learned to represent it. You know, that's all that I am for this shit. So I ain't any of that shit.
Yeah, I guess I would say I'm a first generation of my area.
Yeah.
You know, not that it wasn't culture
Fair
there,
enough.
but I didn't learn it from somebody else.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean? So I'm learning from other people, but I'm also, I guess, what do you say? Like I said, my first introduction to this was working in a bike shop doing biker build-off shit, right? I wasn't. I was just kind of in the background sanding. So, I mean,
I remember those days.
Yeah, I just don't miss like anything. I said, you're just back there in that spot, like just observing and shit, and then. You know, I guess if anything, I was coming up through the sport bike culture, and then that all changed into, big wheels for me at least. And then, like I said before, it evolved into bikes that are fun to ride, and they can do more than one thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Or purpose-built style motorcycles, you know?
And it's been fun to watch the Bagger Race League come up because Tony Salima, Steve Geiser, Zach Nation, I mean, we were all ripping around Malibu Canyons back in the day. And to see those guys, I mean, they were doing it on their Dynas, and now, you know, they're part of the big game.
And like I said, Steve's been on 2 or 3 times, and he's talked about, you know, he's exposed. He was that guy that did these canyons out here and talked about them. I mean, you would hear it in passing in other podcasts, like, oh yeah, we ripped the canyons, but we're in Riverside and you're talking about it, so they don't have the same connection to the canyons over here, right? But yeah, Tony's talked about it quite a bit. When I do podcasts with people, and you might be able to test this, like, there's a lot of people out there that are doing badass shit, but I gotta find a way to have a conversation with them, right? And so sometimes this dude can be doing the most amazing thing, but that might only be a 15-minute conversation. And then my audience is like, bro, like, what am I supposed to do with that?
Right. And a lot of those people,
put out a 15-minute
especially nowadays, if they're not on social media posting all their stuff, no one's ever going to know.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a yellow book now.
Well, back in the day, like the way you would get noticed as a shop is that you would go to the Easy Rider show or some type of show of that, or you had to be there. Like, people, nobody fucking knew. They're not going to open a yellow book pages and go, oh, this is so-and-so cycles out of, San Luis Obispo. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you have to, way back in the day, I mean, it was almost a neighborhood by neighborhood thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you knew someone who worked on something and did a good job, then it was a personal reference. And that's all you had.
Well, yeah, word of mouth has definitely, like, always been the best way to grow your business. But if you want to, like, be a shop and start doing nationwide shit, get all that coverage, like I said, it's for those that want it, right? Some people are completely content with just running the shop out of the area, and they got enough work, they don't need that extra exposure, right?
Right.
Well, then they also can't complain about nobody knowing who the fuck they are.
But if they've got all they can eat, then they're happy. Then
so,
good for them.
You know, if they bring their bike out to the show, and everyone's like, oh man, damn, where'd you come from? He's like, oh, I've been here. I was like, well, shit, tell me about tell me what's up.
Did you have to do that? Is that how you? Is that how? I mean, I don't know all your history.
100%. I
mean, you went to shows and you had a booth out there. And
I didn't do booths because they were always too expensive. But that, if you do that or have a bike and you take it somewhere and be present with it. I used to say this a long time ago when I was building my brand in the sport bike days. I used to say, like, if there's 10 bikes in a parking lot, I'm trying to be the 11th just so these motherfuckers can see me. Right. You know what I mean? I would never miss a bike night. You know, we only had one big one in Dallas, and I used to tell my girlfriends, like, look, I don't give a fuck what's happening on Thursday. I'm at bike night, right? And, I mean, in hindsight now, I don't have the same energy to do that, as I used to, but you compile that by 15 years, and then now everybody in Dallas. I'm like, well, let me take that same mentality and let me be at Sturgis every year. Let me be at Born Free as many times as I can be. Let me be as many of these places as possible, and people see you and see you and see you, and then you start become familiar, and then things start to kind of happen sometimes. But let me be completely honest with you, like I haven't had any kind of break yet. You know what I mean? I haven't, like, the industry itself has
You've
not
been hustling, Jace. You've been hustling.
Yeah, and it's still hustling. So it's like I haven't had like the break. And when there's like an Illuminati of the motorcycle industry, essentially. Straight up, there really is. There's people that run shit that.
Who is that?
Exactly.
Can you say it?
I don't know.
Do you know?
They wear matching yellow shirts.
Okay. There we go.
And you gotta, I don't feel. I mean, the good thing about being a hustler, in a sense, is that you never have to rely on anybody else to make it, right? But the entitlement that I have is the fact, like, fuck, man, like, when am I gonna get to be in that world or be recognized by that world, right? I mean, that dude's in that world and he ain't done shit. You know what I'm saying? He just maybe had money. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, I don't even know if I want it. It's just kind of like, I think
you want to know that it can be offered to you. Like, you want to know that it's an option, or that you made it to that level.
I think that I've always chased just peer recognition. You know what I mean? People that recognize, whatever hard work you're doing. Not that I'm like the hardest worker in the world, but it feels good to be respected, if that makes sense, in the industry.
Every man can attest to that. Yeah.
I think the greatest fear of every man alive is the fear of failure.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the fear of someone not approving of whatever it is that you poured your heart and soul into.
Yeah, hence why we're here.
Exactly.
So,
well, do you like what it's gotten? Do you like where you're at then with it now? Like, like what it's, because of what you are or what it is now? Do you? What is?
I'm optimistic about it. I feel like it could turn into something. Like, the podcast does well, but it doesn't do enough to make a living on. You know what I mean? Like cut everything else out, but. Then again, like, I don't know if it ever will, and that's kind of one of those weird things. Like, that's the goal. That's where I'm trying to get the podcast to, where I can wake up every morning and just be like, yo, like, we're doing a podcast. Or I spend more time editing one and making it sound better and shit like that. But I don't know. I feel like if I just keep doing it, it's going to happen. But I mean, I'm not hurting for money at all, but I'm hurting for time and energy. Okay, that makes sense. So I feel like a push, like, man, like, I don't know if I have the same energy to put like I have the last 20 years. I need something to kind of break, or I need something to be a little bit more of a consistent income to where I don't have to put my hands on it 100%. You know what I mean?
I got you.
If you're in the business world, that big promotion,
or for our brand, like, if I can get to a point where I can sell something, and I can at the point, but I'm trying to get over a couple road humps in life. You know what I'm saying? One being the IRS.
The biggest fucking mafia in the world.
Yeah. Once I pay those fuckers off.
I get it. Yeah. I'm actually a CPA, so I get it.
Once I get them paid off and that figured out, then I'll be able to open up the doors for some other things I want to do with the brand.
Fair enough.
And then I think at that point, I'll be able to cruise a little bit more, if that makes sense. What about you though? Like, how long have you been doing the Harley Showcase and all that?
Oh man, I don't want to talk about that shit. Let's see, what are we in? Like a year and a half. Like a year and a half, man. And it just was a fucking whim. It was on a trip to Arizona.
He knows how to talk. He can jabber.
I can jabber. I've been given the gift of gab, so to speak. And it was but anyways, it was just on a whim, man. I was on a trip to Arizona with my wife and the kids. I don't even what were we going out there for. I don't know. We were on our way to Zion and shit.
Yeah.
And I had this idea. I'm like, damn, I want to talk to my homeboys about their bikes and their builds and shit. And I told my wife the idea. My wife's like a legit straight up like realist with me. If she doesn't like the idea, she doesn't think it's a good one, she's like, don't worry,
Yeah.
Your wife's going to be your hype man, but she's also going to be real with you. And she's like, it's actually a pretty good idea. So I ran with it a little bit, and it just started off like sitting right there in a chair like that, man. My mom got me this stupid stand or something to put your phone on.
Yeah.
And I felt so retarded sitting here in my garage, like sitting here talking to a dude, but actually after like doing it like 2-3 times, I'm like, man, it's no different than me kicking it with Dave over at at Tony's Pizza or, you know, wherever we're at the hut, you know, or wherever. So I thought, well, I'm gonna just keep roll with this, and then people enjoyed it, man. So I'm sure, just like you, it's been a learning curve, you know.
Oh, yeah,
and then, like,
definitely.
I didn't expect any of this shit right here, man. I'm not, like, I didn't plan it. I didn't, like, that wasn't the goal. The goal was to seriously, like, after like 2 or 3 of them, like, sit back in my garage with a beer on a Sunday, dude, and, like, if I couldn't invite my homeboy over here to kick it with me on Sunday, sit in your garage, dude, and let's bullshit on Instagram. And anybody that wants to be a fly on the wall can be a fly on the wall and talk to us. That's really, like, legit what it was. And people, like, dug the vibe and shit, man, because I keep it real, man. I just sit right here. This is where this shit happens, man. I stop working on my bike usually. I'm like, oh shit, it's 6 o'clock. I'm supposed to be on.
Yeah.
You know, so it's been cool, man. But I'm just having fun with it, dude. And I'm honestly just I'm trying to just talk to people that I think I can connect with. I don't, like you said, you're in it for the big. You're in it on a different level, I guess. At the moment, you have sponsors and you have other stuff where you're looking, like you said, to sit down with names in the industry. And I would love to do that stuff, but I just have a little bit more connection right now with just a homegrown dude that has like 300 followers, maybe, or something. Yeah, I probably connect with him, you know. So
yeah, I mean, but at the same time, it's a progression, because some of my biggest listened to podcasts are just me and the homies. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And because people really do like, put like this, I'm pretty fortunate to have what I have in Dallas. You guys are pretty fortunate to have the bike scene and all these cool people out here to be able to have this. But imagine the dudes that listen to us, both of us, who are in Iowa, who dig this type of bike. I mean, he doesn't have anything, so he is the fly on the wall, and he does, like, fuck, man, I want to go to Live Fast Riding and see these cats and fuck with them. I want to go to the Fast Life camp out and be a part of this world. So essentially, like, that's one of the things that we've tried to do with our podcast is, especially with the little small bike night that we've done over the last 5 years, is to try and inspire other dudes to, dude, start a bike night. If it's just 5 of y'all every week, then y'all 5 are the fucking thickest thieves, dude. Yep. Keep doing your shit, hang out, and then go do a trip together. Like, you don't have bike nights were never about, like, I need 400 people to be at my bike night to be legit. Nah, fuck that shit. 5 people, dude. That's all you need. 2 people, that's it.
And it changes when you get more people. Yeah. The tightness loosens up. But hey, if they're down, you're invited in.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, like, the one thing that I would say, because with your brand or your deal here is to, which you've done, and that's the reason why aside from the other conversation I wanted to have you on, was consistency. Most people are not consistent with their shit. They come out, they do some Instagram lives, they say they're going to start a podcast, you get 3 episodes, and then the energy's gone, and it's like, so for a guy like me, I'm like, well, I don't want to waste my time going to sit down with him when he hasn't even put a full solid month in on episodes. Right. Yeah. It's like, because I'm not one of those dudes where, like, oh, you listen to my podcast or fuck off. You know what I mean? It's like, no. If you keep doing a podcast, more people get into it. They're like, fuck, man. So it's like a rising tide floats all ships. If your world gets into podcasting, they might also be interested in some of the shit that we put out. Not every episode, but there might be a couple that are like, fuck, man, like, that's the one, that was a good one. I listen to Rogan. I don't listen to every episode. Yeah. And I don't expect everybody to listen to every episode I put out. That's
the truth. I've listened to some of your shit. Yeah. And no, respectfully, man. Yeah. And you put out, hey, truth be told, you're supposed to, like, study. I wouldn't call you my opponent or anything like that. Yeah. But you're supposed to study, right? If you're going to do this, you got to be a studier of the game, right?
Yeah, you got to find out anybody that has something that seems like it's working, right? Exactly. What are some of the things they're doing to, and for me, I modeled a lot of it off of Rogan. Okay. And then a lot of the other ones, it was the other dude in Dallas that does it, Danger Dan, who's more in the chopper world. Okay. And he was a big help for me to get into podcasting. And so and he had already had like 100 episodes or 70 or 100 episodes out whenever I started mine. So, his shit worked. And the thing I got from him was consistent. That was the biggest thing, is like, dude, there's times when I wake up and I'm like, fuck, I gotta do a podcast today, or I just did one and I'm like, fuck, I feel like I did a horrible job asking. I didn't ask him this, I didn't do this, like, I feel like, why the fuck do I do this? You know what I mean? This is stupid. And then like,
we all have on days and off days.
Yeah. I mean, dude, it's
I guess it's good to hear that from my perspective, because I think the same shit. I think the same exact thing. I'm like, that was terrible. I'm not in the mood. I don't want to do it. So I know we can definitely relate, I guess, when it comes to that. We can have some common ground on that. I'm not feeling it all the time. Oh shit, I forgot to ask that. Oh duh, I should have done that. You have those days.
The worst ones are for us. I have a hard time turning off the microphones. You know what I mean? I feel like realistically, and you could probably test this, because this shit's fun.
It is.
You know what I mean?
It's work though too.
It is.
How much of it is work? How much of it is fun for you now?
Depends on how much beer's involved.
Yeah, exactly. Because after about 2.5 hours, there's probably.
Speaking of, do you guys need more?
I will definitely take another one.
Dude, where's that? Oh, yeah, can you grab that 12-pack, man?
Get a cart.
I'm sorry, homeboy. I'm sorry, dog. I'm sorry. This is my homeboy Josh, by the way.
What's up, man?
So one of the things, thinking about both of you guys and your podcasts and Rogan, king of podcasts, I think one of the main things that people appreciate is authenticity.
Yeah.
And whether it's a good podcast or you feel as though it wasn't as good of a podcast, I think every time you guys are real.
Yeah.
Even if it starts some shit, it's real. It comes from true heart. And people appreciate that, because there's so much bullshit out there nowadays. People appreciate authenticity and people living and speaking true to their roots.
And I get that. Like, I get messages like that. Like, hey man, keep it real. Like, I like the way you keep it real. And to me, my wife goes, hey, your head's getting all big and shit. I'm like, nah. Like, I like the fact that people recognize he just. Oh shit. Let me. I think you have one on you.
Actually, I got my knife.
There you go. That'll work. There you go.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Shit, I forgot what we were talking about.
Keeping it real.
Authenticity.
When keeping it real goes wrong.
Oh, when keeping it real fucking goes wrong. Yeah.
Y'all remember that skit on Dave Chappelle?
Oh yeah, I love that fucking skit. Have you seen that shit?
He keeps it fucking real.
Yeah, he keeps it. Dave Chappelle keeps that shit fucking real. That's one of the few that said "fuck you" like to anybody. He's like, Wait, didn't he walk away from Netflix?
Yeah, or whatever.
Comedy Central.
Yeah, Comedy Central.
Comedy Central, and he went. That's right, Comedy Central. He walked away from them from like a
came
shit
back
ton
bigger
of money.
than ever.
Oh my gosh, power move right there, homeboy. Good.
Yeah, like we doing these things, man. Put it like this, with us having the studio at the shop and the video and all that, and somebody flies in, right? The pressure is on for me, because they're investing in coming on the podcast. This isn't the same kind of investment, right? Like if I show up to somebody's house, like they just like, hey man, let me put some pants on real quick. You know what I mean? So or when somebody or not, let's keep it weird. When someone's like, hey man, I'm gonna book a flight, I'm coming out, I'm like, all right, cool, I'll pick you up at the airport. I got a couch or a bed if you want to sleep on that. So you want to make sure that they get what they were hoping to get out of being on the show. You know what I mean? Whether it's exposure or their story across, and
do you feel that pressure now because of the level of where you're, like, the amount of followers and all that stuff? You feel
well, the followers on Instagram, they don't translate to the podcast, right? Like, not everybody that follows me is listening to the podcast, obviously.
I guess my question is, why do you feel such high pressure to produce such great? You've done the work, you've put in the time.
That's the same way I was when, growing in my paint career. I've always, like, let me word it this way. I think I've always grown up with people criticizing everything I do. Like, there was a paint shop that I started working in Dallas. And then once I became an airbrush artist and a graphic artist and a pinstriper and all that shit, and he didn't want to pay, I was making $650 a week, and this dude's driving a Prowler back in the day when those were cool. Yeah. I was like, bro, like, I can't do this anymore. I'm bringing in $100,000 a month or a year in my own work, and I'm taking home $36,000, dude. It's like, well, I can't pay you anymore. This is all I can do. So I went on my own. Was I great? No. But for some reason I was good enough to do all his work.
Right.
But then I do my bike. I go to bike night. All of a sudden now there's all these dudes there talking shit about my work. Oh, look at that flaw. Look at this flaw. Like, I've always had people picking out the flaws in my work in my hometown of Dallas, right? And so, as much as it was annoying and a pain in the ass, I'm fucking glad he did it, because nobody knows who he is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it made you better at your craft.
Yeah, and I my brand became bigger than Dallas Fort Worth itself. You know what I'm saying? So that same mentality is still in me. It's almost like a what is it like when you have daddy issues or something? But it's like a
yeah.
It's like a It's like, what do they call that shit when you have problems growing up and it comes back to haunt you or some shit?
It's a scar.
Trauma?
Yeah, like I have
trauma?
emotional trauma from this shit, and it's just like one of those things that I apply to everything I do, whether it was a podcast or like dabbling in photography and things like that. I'm used to people picking, and so I'm harder on myself. Like, fuck, why did I leave that there? I could have fixed that. Or
right.
When you get too drunk on a podcast and you're editing the audio and you're like, fuck, what the hell?
I say? I can't even understand it.
Because
you listen to it?
I don't listen to it, but just like I'll scroll through it and I'll just make sure the audio is good, and I'll find all the peaking areas and make sure it's legit. And then it's like every time I scroll further and further, I'm still talking. I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up and let the guest talk for once. You know what I'm saying? So it's a mind fuck, man. Like you're putting so much out there, and there's so much for people to critique, and so it's a lot more you're just a lot more insecure about it sometimes. You can be, I don't do like IG lives. I want to be that guy, like, what's up, it's your boy Jace, I'm sitting in the place. I don't have it in me to do that. I try so hard.
I guess
on this trip I've been trying.
To me, that's just I guess it's not the don't give a fuck, but it's like, I'm me. You're gonna either just like my wife and my,
how y'all doing?
Hey Aaron. The small ones I was telling you I'm busy with. When I do it, man, I don't know. I'm in my head like that at the beginning too, and I'm like, listen, this is me. I ain't being anybody different.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be somebody else off the screen, or I'm sorry, on the screen that I am off the screen.
Yeah.
The same person. I'm sure when Dave watches a video that I post, it's probably the same shit that I would say right to him in a parking lot.
Yeah.
With a beer or in front of High Time Liquor on the way to the Pismo run. It would be the same thing I'd be talking to you about. So I don't know, like, why don't you just go like, fuck it, I'm Jace?
That's not what I'm worried about. I'm just worried about like
the critique after being Jace.
No, it's the fact that I don't.
Yeah, I get it.
No, it's the how do you say it? Like I stutter. Over my words. I trip with my words a lot. So for me to get a point across, sometimes I have to like. I'm saying it, then I'm like, oh shit, look, this way.
Multiple
you know what I mean?
takes.
Like, I'm not really good at just like saying something for the first time very easily. So I'm getting better at it by doing these, but it's just my own hard on myself because of it. And so whenever I do the video, I'm like, fuck this. Should have said it this way.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Dude, well, don't think that I don't do that once in a while where it's like something like, but I'll do it like 2-3 times. I'm like, oh, whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
well, after the 14th time or.
Oh, I don't go that many rounds.
Yeah.
I don't go that many rounds. I go 1 or 2. I'm like, fuck it. You guys get what you get.
Yeah.
Boom.
Can we track back for a second? Talking about you wanting to free up time and be able to create a revenue stream off of this. Mm-hmm. How does that happen? Because you are Jace and everything you're doing is built on you doing it.
That's what's hard.
Same with paint.
Because everything I touch, I have to touch it to make $1, right?
Right.
And there's something noble about that. I mean, that's blue collar as fuck, right?
Yep.
And I want to be that. I'll tell you, like me because I'm a hard worker, but I want a fucking house, dude. I don't own a home. Right. You know what I mean? I want some of those things in life, and I got to find a way to do that, but also stay happy every day in what I'm doing for a living. And I do enjoy doing podcasts, and I do enjoy when I sit down with people and I'm exposed to something you know what I mean? Like, I like that shit. Like, everybody that sits down on this podcast has figured out something in life. You know what I mean? And I feel like I can take some of that. I just want to try to apply it. You know what I mean? And I have a big brand or a good sized brand that I know that if I put a t-shirt out, it'll sell. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, the only overcoming is going to be the taxes. Because I've had a horrible CPA for the last 3 years. She hasn't done my taxes.
Oh, fuck.
And so I'm basically, like, my T-Sport right now, I'm going to have to probably sell it just to kind of like have a lot of money, find a new CPA and say, look, this is 3 years. I need you to go through it. Tell me what I owe now. This is how much money I got saved up. Hopefully it'll cover it all. And then, hey, everything else forward, what do we do?
Slate,
How are we doing this? I'll pay you monthly. I don't give a fuck. I never want to be back in the situation again. I'm not worried about like I can't afford to take care of it. It's just one of those things on my shoulders, right?
Well, you want to know what it is, so you know what you're dealing with. Otherwise, it's just this huge mountain on your shoulders.
Yeah, exactly. I like to paint, but I don't want to do it full time anymore. You know what I mean?
How much hands are you putting on your paint though right now?
All of it. I'm one person.
I mean, you don't have anybody prepping.
Nobody
nothing.
works for me.
Okay.
Every once in a while, like my little brother will come in and help every once in a while, but very far and few. If I do a bagger, I'll definitely get him to come help and buff it or something.
Okay.
But sanding, for the most part, I do it all. Every once in a while, I do have a guy. I can give him $150. He'll DA down a bagger or some shit like that. But
so how many bikes are you turning out a year, or are you even turning out bikes a year?
Last year was the shortest. I did 9 bikes.
How many helmets, though? I mean,
I do about 50 a year.
Okay.
50 helmets a year.
That's a lot.
And so,
especially doing this.
Exactly. So, around 70 podcast episodes a year, 20 to 30,000 miles on the bike a year. We hosted a couple events, and then, I wanted to go to Sturgis this year, but I think I'm gonna have to take the wife somewhere. So that's gonna be the deal this year.
We all get that.
Yeah. We all can understand that.
But yeah, so what do you do? Is like, what else do you do besides for the money in the life?
Like my regular shit, what I do, I work in the telecommunications field. Is what that's my Monday through Friday, my corporate position.
Yeah.
The one that has the benefits and all that shit, 401k. So that's what keeps me steady and all that.
Yeah.
We have a farm out here. We have an equestrian center out here in the family. Started doing this type of stuff, but I'm a hustler.
What's all the bikes? You work on bikes too, or are these yours?
These are most of them are mine. A couple of them are friends and stuff. They're bikes that are turning through here like all the time.
Yeah.
Like everyone knows, I got all the whatever I need to probably get a job done. Yeah. So I mean, bikes are always turning out through here and stuff, but. I'm a hustler. I'm a grinder, man. I do everything, dude, under the sun. Whatever. If it makes money, I'll go and chase it.
I know what you mean.
That's the blue collar. That's just the hustler and grinder in me. And so.
Yeah.
But
I understand.
Happy Father's Day to you, by the way.
I appreciate you too as well,
guys.
Are you not a father?
I'm a father.
Yeah,
he's a
grandfather. I got number 4 grandkid on the way.
Ooh. Yeah, he's a grandpa.
Yep.
Yeah, but grandpa can rip though.
I'll get down.
Grandpa's a ripper though.
Yeah.
Grandpa can ride. Yeah.
Thank you, Ray.
For sure. Yeah. No, well, I mean, that's it. Pay homage where homage is due. So, but I wanted to. You asked earlier about Daniel. Can I?
Yeah.
Okay. So, let me just ask. It doesn't make a difference on what I say, but how did your guys' relationship kind of become?
Okay, so I was thinking about that because I feel like this question would come up. In the early days of Instagram, repost pages were usually started by people that had nothing to do with the culture. They were people that this is a thing that's popping. I'm gonna start a page, get it to 150 or 50,000 people, and then they would sell them to people.
Sell it, yeah.
That's
a business.
It was a lot of people doing that.
It's a business.
Really big in the big wheel bagger community. And then when the FXR, obviously there's a lot of those. There's the Cartel. There's FXRs of California. Not that they're all were repost pages, but there was so many that it was hard to there was never one as a source, right? And then when the performance bagger thing came out, the guy that runs Performance Baggers, his name's Jordan, and he's kind of got his hands in a lot of shit, right? Still a good dude, definitely. I know him well. We talk every once in a while, but he wasn't really involved in the community or in the scene of this as much as Daniel was, right? At the time when Daniel first started the podcast.
Performance Baggers.
Yeah.
Okay. And you said his name is what?
Jordan.
Why do who did I sit down with? It's not
West Coast Performance Baggers is different.
No. I'll have to go ahead.
Yeah, he's a dude out of Florida that started the Performance Bagger page.
Okay.
Crazy enough. And since then there's been a lot of other guys, like the West Coast Performance Baggers, I think is one that's pretty badass. And then even though I'm guilty for helping put the name Performance Baggers or promote the name Performance Baggers, I like the performance touring more personally, at least for my world, because that's what we do on them. But Daniel was just like he was a little bit more active in things, and so it was easier to have a connection with the actually a page that was faceless at the time. And then since then he's kind of turned his page more into it's a like almost a brand in itself, with selling shirts and things like that, which is a lot of people do now, which makes sense.
It's a business.
And then we both had beef with MJK, you know what I mean? And that's one of the reasons why we kind of connected real well.
I don't even know what that was. What the fuck is that?
MJK?
I know what it is, but what was your beef? I mean, don't go into detail, just cliff notes.
So we did a podcast together. We had talked many times about me painting a bike for him. I was actually going to ride up to one of their events up in Calgary before I realized that they don't let DWI victims in there.
They don't let anyone in Canada now.
Anybody in. I won't say his name, but you may. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So we ended up doing the podcast over the phone the first year we did in 2018. And to be honest with you, the one thing that was weird about it, it doesn't really happen anymore, but a long time ago when we would do podcasts with brands, you sit down, you're kind of in, for lack of a better term, kind of an intimate conversation with someone, and they're telling you their life story and whatnot. Then they start confiding in me in all kinds of stuff that I don't really want to be a part of, like shit that I kind of would want to tell that dude, but I'm not a snitch, you know what I'm saying? So it's like a weird thing where we did a podcast together. Even on the podcast, he's like, dude, stay on the phone, I want to talk, I want to do some stuff with you. So he was like, man, I fucking love what you're doing for the scene, blah, blah, blah. I want to set you up with all my parts. He said, all my parts for your bike. Mm-hmm. And I was like, bro, you don't have to do that. And he's like, no, I want to. And I was like, well, do you want to just be a sponsor? That way it's not like you're just giving it to me. You know what I mean? Nowadays, I'll take that shit all day long. But then I was like, yo, just be a sponsor. He's like, yo, okay, let's do that for sure. So December, January, February rolls around. He's a sponsor, but nothing's showing up, and I'm not pressing him. I know what it's like, a lot of parts trying to get out. But every once in a while he would call me and he would like bitch about Boosted Brad, or he'd bitch about another brand and then another brand. And I'm like, dude, like I'm in a position where I have to be neutral with everybody. Like, and what you don't like people for is pretty fucking stupid. You know what I mean? And so what ended up happening was I'll be honest with you, I was like, fuck, I'm about to get thousands of dollars worth of shit, so I'm just going to let them talk to me this way. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? And then I did a podcast with Daniel. I was like, hey, I had been talking to Daniel since pretty much early on when he started his podcast. And so, he was already scheduled to come on the podcast at some point. And I had no idea that MJK hated Daniel. Right? And what he hated him for was because Daniel hit him up and asked him about buying some stuff from him, and Dale gave him kind of a shitty fucking runaround, so then he ended up going and buying it all from Big Bear, right? So Daniel wasn't asking for anything for free, but MJK or Dale took it as he was, and so he was like, man, fuck you, blah, 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 and Daniel's like, fuck, dude, chill. I'll just go buy it from this guy, and he ended up buying it from Big Bear, and they're all closer. I don't really like Big Bear that much, but but anyway, I did that podcast with Daniel, put it out, and by the way, that got way more views than MJK's did ever, even early on in the podcast. And then Dale calls me, and he's like talking so fucking out of line to me, like, I'm gonna make an example out of you, like, to me. Like, I told you I didn't like that motherfucker. Why would you have him on your podcast? Blah,
this
blah,
is
blah.
on the phone? He called you
on the phone. And I'm trying to screen record. Like, dude, how do you do this? Still on the phone talking shit to me. He's talking shit about Boosted Brad. He's talking shit about San Diego Customs. He's talking shit about everybody. Right? And I'm like, bro, like, whatever. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Obviously, I'm not getting these parts. So fuck you too then. You know what I mean? Then he goes and does a live on Instagram after we hung up the phone, crying to the world why he broke up with me, basically. And I wasn't going to tell anybody. I was like, look, man, like, we split ways. I'm not trying to, I don't want drama and beef. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to tell my friends what happened. Yeah. But I'm not going to go on here. But he does live. Then he blocks me. And I'm like, all right, well, fuck it. fuck MJK.
I would feel that way at that point then too. Okay,
But
fair
you know,
enough.
like
You would have felt that way a long time before.
I would have,
that.
yeah, that's true too. But when it comes down to it, I would have felt the same way. We would have got to the same place.
yeah. So it was because I think that drama of both us having an issue with MJK that it put me and Daniel closer, and we became friends, and we've since worked together on other things. I mean,
did it? Well, was it? Again, this doesn't change anything, but was it more business? Was it more like, hey,
that was
this
friendship?
Is, okay, it was friendship first. Okay, Daniel to me just comes across as just exactly what you said, a repost page. Like he just doesn't come across as somebody that is true to the culture, knows shit about the culture. Correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't he have a marketing agency or a media thing or something like that?
He has a printing thing that it's something on the lines of like printing, but they'll set up like booths for people at like trade shows.
Do they market? Do they do the marketing? Do they do shit like that?
Maybe I don't really know 100% to.
Is his he comes across as his gimmick is just like what you said, a page that needs needs to be a brand and wants to be sold and wants to portray something, not really part of this thing.
Yeah.
And again, it's the a lot of people you probably agree with this is that a lot of people would go if they get into this performance bagger air quotes thing. They're going to go look for those pages that are there, right?
Yeah,
and they're going to find probably his page.
Yeah,
and when they come across that, they're going to think that's the standard. That's the this, that's the that, right? So he comes across just as that's it. It's a repost page, and it's nothing but like, do I want to say like culture vulture off of the scene? Maybe.
Well, that's why I was saying the difference between the reason why I linked up with him was because he wasn't that. He did own one of the bikes. He was out going to Sturgis and things like that, going to Laconia, doing things in Daytona, like setting up meets and rides and shit. But he's also out of Canada, so they've been they got a weird government, right? So he's they've been stuck up there. But I wouldn't say that. Trust me, I mean I can scroll down my phone real quick and show you a couple pages that I definitely would tell you are trying to rape and pillage the scene and the culture, right? But I personally don't think that his was ever that. Is he trying to build something there? Yes. Is he trying to make money off it? Fuck yeah, it's a lot of work to run a page, if you guys know. I mean, the reason why FXR Bazaar, he does a great job of not doing that.
I guess let's stop right there. It is a lot of work to run a page. I won't disagree with that. How much work is it to run a page where you're just reposting other people's bikes versus actually someone going live and posting a story and doing this and being active and being like who you are, like going on there?
Yeah.
How much it's work. Don't get me fucking wrong. Yeah. It's still work because I do it. I understand that it's work, but how much work is it?
That would be between you and him to have the conversation. But I would say
I'm asking you your opinion. You do all of it.
I would say that you guys
if Jace just had a repost page, that's all he was known for. How much work is it compared to everything else? All you do is a repost page. How much work is it compared to everything else that you do in this shit? How much of a percentage is it?
As far as being on my phone and dealing with all the people every day that are
just the work, Jace. Just how much in comparison? You put a podcast together. You do this. You do that. You travel. You ride. You go out and do videos. You paint.
Hey,
you do this.
I'm gonna stop this conversation real quick. Some girl sells farts and does more than both of us. So
and they make more money than all of us.
$100,000 a month.
Yeah,
I get it.
So as far as like what's harder, I mean, I think that what I would say is that you definitely have a more outgoing personality to do and talk and be more live. I don't think Daniel really he's more reserved in that manner, right? As far as like not going live and being like, hey, we're doing this, blah blah blah. He's just more like he leans on a lot of us that are a part of it, but I don't know. I mean, could there be more? Could there be less? Like, that's just the world of repost that I'm not really. I just look for people that at least have a stake in the game, and he does have that.
Just all bullshit aside, black and white, nut and bolts. I just think he himself, personally, as a person, not knowing who he is, the representation of who he is, and everything is not a good representation.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to,
when people are going to flock to his shit, people are going to flock to his shit, and that's the representation.
Well, so there's another angle that maybe could be played right here. Is that like,
love to hear it.
People flock to his shit because it's there, but there's so many other repost pages, but they haven't got as big as his yet. So it's something that he's doing differently.
He was the first one.
No, he wasn't. He was performance baggers. Yeah.
Second one, as the train was fucking like leaving the station.
Yeah, but his train left quicker.
Exactly. Like so, but he was.
It started in 2017, I believe, and other people started theirs after it got popular.
Exactly, and those are going to grow now, because when you find one, you're going to like, there's not just one to follow. I'm going to follow the 5 or the 6 of them, and so I can get a flavor of every single one.
Yeah.
So all those grow. I've watched other pages myself that don't put that repost people's shit. That's what they do. You know, I've watched them go, and I'm like, fuck. Well,
what's crazy is when they have hundreds of thousands of followers and they repost your shit and they got 40 likes on it.
Oh, I know how that works.
Yeah.
I know how that works.
The thing, this is why my brand. First off, like every photo, I don't post anything on my page on my Fast Life Garage that I didn't create or have a hand in creating.
That's what I'm saying is a difference between what you and what somebody.
It is a difference, but I'm not a repost page. I am myself. This is my world that I put out there.
Exactly,
my life.
Exactly, and that's when I say, well, when we talk about Daniel and my.
So you're in more of my world and not so much his world.
That's the way I would look at it too. Is you're so immersed in the culture that I think Daniel's page, I think he does a good job. I think he does set a high standard. And it gives the guy that you said you relate to with 300 followers in Iowa that just found this, he loves it, he wants to know more. That's a good place to start. It's not the place to end. You should keep looking, and there's a bunch of guys that don't get featured. It's on an encyclopedia of everything on there.
Right.
But I do think it's a good placeholder.
What's ended up happening too, I mean, in conversations I've had with him and also Simpson and things like that, is it as, you know, some brands like Simpson, like Paint Huffer, are able to grow so big because they have so much user-created content, right? All they got to do is repost. It's easy, right? So some brands have stupid amounts of like followers because of that. But even them, like knowing both those people personally, they still look for higher quality content, higher quality photos, higher quality shit to repost, because now it's a cesspool of shit. There could be the sickest bike in the world, but you're over there on a fucking Android taking a picture of it. That's an Android joke. It's like there's the bar's getting raised because things become normal. Then the bar gets a little bit raised even more, and now it's like, if you want, in some brands they want higher quality photos to be reposted, and that's just their world. I don't really get in it because I focus on my shit, which is the Fast Life Garage, and I'm trying to create content for myself. And if it's not like when I take pictures of something that's not my personal bike that I painted, then I put it on the Fast Life Visuals, which is just a homage to my photography.
So, Jace, how many followers do you have on Instagram right now?
I think like 50 something.
Okay. And how many does he have?
Like 70 something.
And how long has he been running? 2008, 17?
17.
And you?
15.
And that doesn't kind of like try to chafe you a little bit, like all the I know now doing it myself how much energy and time away from my kids over there goes into it versus
it's the mentality of happening. It's the mentality of followers, right? There's 2 reasons why people follow something. Actually, 1 reason: they can get something out of it. Following me, they ain't getting shit. They're just seeing. All they get is the content I put. When you follow a repost page, you might get reposted. Or if you follow a page that's always got a sale on there, you might get an opportunity to buy something.
I get it. You're right.
There's some brands that I mean, I would, same argument, if I wanted to be that way, I would say like, yeah, these brands make no content. All they do is repost fucking memes that they make about sales they put out, and they have hundreds of thousands, or they have tons and tons of followers, but they make no real content, right? I'm out here.
So are you saying that society right now likes the self-gratification of being reposted?
Yeah. 100%.
Oh, yeah.
That's a crazy thing right now.
That's a given.
It's crazy.
That's a given.
But, I mean, the crazy thing is, so I don't know if it's going to happen, but I kind of dig into the world of social media as far as like watching videos about it and shit. Instagram is trying to rewrite an algorithm so that the original creator of the content gets all the
views and the likes
of it,
and
that basically when you make a post and it gets shared a bunch of times, that it funnels more, it puts more of the original post in the Explorer feed. So the original post is going to get more attention towards their eyes on it. So that could kill the repost game, which, like I said, that's not my world. And I don't want to fuck with anybody's bread and butter or whatever they're trying to do. You know what I'm saying? If all the brands that are doing it, I mean, there's so many different types now. I mean, if I see another fucking club style page, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, Club style Japan, club style Brazil.
Club style these nuts, dude. It's fucking getting out of the hand, dude.
Those that repost and don't give like any credit to the person that made it. Like you see those club style pages post like the San Diego Customs Death Star.
Yeah.
Don't even tag San Diego Customs.
What I've always said on the podcast, because I know that people are going to make a club style page, right? So look, if you make a club style Iowa, those are your borders. That's all you get to post.
Okay.
You can't post shit from fucking Kansas. You know what I'm saying?
I would agree with those guidelines.
There we go.
Again, I'm not a gatekeeper or anything, but if those
I'll fucking,
I will sign
I'll
off
work
on
the
that
door
one.
on that one.
Yeah,
I'll work the door for free on
send me the bill. I'll sign off on that.
Well, so a repost page, in my opinion, has the ability to kind of be. I've said this on the podcast. I think that they can be and sometimes are our new version of magazines. There could be a better way that people do it, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I'm just saying if I was going to do a repost page, I would probably not just repost willingly, which also would make it not grow as fast. You know what I mean?
Quality over quantity.
But I would rather repost something that was, a recuration of that content. Like, hey man, your bike looks really badass. I want to feature you on our page. Do you have like somebody that can go get some decent photos, at least an iPhone 13 or something like that on this? And then tell me something about yourself. Let's do like a little fucking write-up about this. I would probably go that angle, but that's a lot more work. And I guess I'm used to like that's how you create better content, is put more energy into it. But the people that grow on social media are the ones that get the easy things to do that doesn't take long. And you look at their page and they got 20,000 fucking posts, right? Yeah. And they're going to get more content because every time they repost somebody, that dude's friends might be like, "Oh fuck yeah, thanks man!" Like, it's like
hit.
I've learned that I've learned that game doing what I'm doing right now. I've it's called guerrilla warfare kind of. You tag a bunch of people in hopes that they get you get some exposure, and you're just like, hey, I'm right here. Like whether they react to it or do anything to it, you just tag them and like.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to react to it or they're not going to react to it. It's like it's the old tried and true. Well, what's the worst that can happen if I ask? They're going to say no. That's really what it comes down to.
Deal.
But I mean, when it really, I guess maybe that's where all of our, because he made a good point, and he was saying maybe it's just a culture difference between what we feel and then what we want. I get not we. Stop saying that, right? I guess more of when it comes to I would say influencers, like you said, like yourself and Daniel. Daniel's to me is just not a very good representation of the culture, which is important to me.
Probably not be the expectation we would have for the type of brand or type of things that we would do. You know what I mean? Like that's always going to be that. But I would also say what was it? What was I going to say? Fuck.
Well, don't you want that culture though to be don't you want everybody to experience that culture?
What if this might, other than the Dyna culture, this might be the first time that something from California has now just engulfed the whole country with a style. And so you're constantly seeing your influence or this area's influence on bikes all over the country that have no idea about some of the culture, like we originally talked about in this podcast. What if it's that you end up seeing more of, and you're like more like, fuck man, like, and I get it. You're doing it for the guys before you guys that were kind of creating this vibe, right? And then now you have a whole country that doesn't get it. Like, I understand how you could have an issue with that. I don't know that. I mean, in a court of law, I don't think it's gonna fucking hold up. But I understand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, if you're brought up in it, the culture comes first. If you're a new guy that doesn't have a direct connection to the culture, you find this on your own. You go from fishing guy to all of a sudden you're a Harley guy. The culture is going to come second. You're caring about the bike and making friends, and you're looking for that probably what got you into it, that basic level of acceptance and meeting people. And once you do that, and if you last, it's kind of, you do it in stages. Maybe you start traveling a little bit. Sooner or later, you will get to the history of this stuff, and you'll start to find out, hopefully,
if not,
where it all came from.
You'll buy a razor and go fucking.
Yeah. Man, I think everybody knows, especially the kind of world we live in. Dude, you guys are the Mecca. I mean, California. It is. It all started. It all ends here. We were just talking about ideas for future big trips that we do. I said we could do a whole 2 weeks in California and still not touch everything.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this is it. This is it. And we probably maybe
the biggest thing that I think that we can do as far as like promoting is just try to get people to come here and experience it. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people do. I mean, the thing about the performance world, whether it be, FXR, two-bagger, and everything in between, once people do start following, and I guarantee you, if some dude in fucking Oklahoma City right now that's in love with this shit, if he got to go right out here, if he got to go to Neptune's, dude,
we were there yesterday.
He'd come on himself, dude. Yeah. Straight up. 3 times.
Not 4?
Not maybe. Maybe. I mean, the first time I came out here, when I first got in, when I first started like having an eye for FXRs and shit, and you're riding out here like, oh shit, that's an FXR. Like, you don't see them that much on the road. Now you see them a lot more, but back then you didn't see them that way. The first time you see an RT fairing going down the road, you're like, who the fuck is that dude in my town that has this RT fairing?
Is that a Honda?
No, it's like, for us in Texas, it's like, if you had a T-Sport fairing, like a Repop, a Conley's or some shit like that, we knew everybody that had that. So when it started growing past like even our little circle of the OGs of our towns, of this, you know what I'm saying? We're like, who influenced you? You know what I mean? There's dudes that were at my camp out that are from my town that don't even know our brand. Their other buddies got them out there. You know what I mean?
How was that camp out? Good time?
Yeah, we had over 1,000 fucking people this year.
Wow.
Have you ever gone?
I haven't.
I've never gone, and one of these years, maybe next year,
yeah,
I will definitely make my way out there, because to be honest with you, that's like our get down. Like that's how we how we like to mess around down here. We just had the Live Fast rally. Dave is part of that team, and we were I don't know if I told you, I may have told Grover, I don't remember. I told somebody, I said, hey, you know what, the only thing missing from this vibe, from this Live Fast rally, is like telling us to bring our tents and our sleeping bags and like go ahead and like pitch your tent out there, and we're gonna have a big bonfire with beers at the end of the night. Like, I was like, man, that's the only thing that's missing from this for me. Everything else, the vibe was perfect. It was like a mile up a dirt road, like a dirt gravel road. Like, it was my vibe, it was my style, you know. So when I've heard you've done a camp out, so like to do that, I'm like, okay, that's my vibe, that's my style. I like how it is. I'm sure it's turned into, because of your following and stuff, it's now turned into probably a destination, so to speak.
So when we started the camp out, for one, there's two factors that kind of brought it into play. One was Giddy Up Texas, which was my first event that was a chopper based show that we went to, and it had a camp out to it, or a camping vibe to it, right? And so that's why I talked about on the podcast, my first time going to Born Free, I was like, this is bullshit compared to Giddy Up. But that's because I came to Born Free like with giddy up eyes. Like, I need this to be giddy up, instead of coming to this and letting this be wherever the fuck it is and showing me, right? Well, the other thing was I loved Giddy Up so much, and we talked about camping so much on the early days of podcasts. I got in really good with John Jessup up in Dream Rides, and he hosted a camp out up in the NorCal area. He said it didn't really have the traction that he had hoped it did, but he was like, fuck it, if he's going to do one, let's do one back home, right? First one, 60 people or 50 people, right? But everybody had fun, and that was the first time I met Steve Chamberlain. He rode from Michigan down there.
Heck yeah.
And and the thing is, like, for us,
that's how you guys met?
Yeah.
Okay. Just randomly
at our camp out. Yeah.
Never knew each other on Instagram before or anything like that. Like,
we never had a conversation on this. I don't talk to people on Instagram. Like, people will tag and things, or business, but I don't like have conversations with people. I can't. It's fucking impossible.
Yeah.
And someone messaged me, and I'm like, oh, hey man, I love that road. I'm like, hell yeah, it was badass. So man, how's your day going? I'm like, bro,
yeah, I get that.
Can't do that. You know what I mean? But so he comes down. Like I said, it was a small, intimate thing. The next year there was like 70 people. So the camp out 2 was 70, and then 3 was like, fuck. That was like when we had a good like, you know, consistency was another player. Like, oh, I'm not gonna waste my time going to some bullshit. Let's see if it turns in. That's most people's mentality. Some people like to be a part of the original things when it happens and be able to say like, I've been to 1, 2, 3, 4 and all those type of things.
3 was COVID though, right?
No, 4 was COVID. Okay. No, yeah. So 3 was COVID. So we were expecting more, but we still had like over 250, 300 people show up to that one.
We didn't know what the fuck to expect.
So COVID happened.
Does it move or does it stay in the same spot? Same
Yeah.
spot. Okay.
So COVID happens. Our camp out's the end of April. COVID happens, and then March, like everybody's saying like you can't, or no, at the beginning of April they were saying like the borders are closed, you can't go from state to state.
Yeah,
it was bullshit.
In hindsight, the dumbest shit ever. But people were
like, oh shit,
are they gonna have state troopers at the border?
Yeah, so we still had a lot of people show up, and then the 5 or 4,
3 had a vibe to it. At the end of it, it was like if you missed it, you fucked up. If you were scared, if you bought into this, you sucked. And
that's good.
It was bigger than intended, and everybody had way more fun than I think anybody expected. And then it kind of said, so there was people going into 4 going, I'm not fucking missing it, no matter what.
Yeah, and then 4 was a good one.
4 was a banger.
We didn't want to. We don't want to have like we want brands there, but not as like sitting in a tent like, hey man, how you doing? Yeah, this is for FXR, this is for Dyna.
Yeah,
you don't want the corporate bullshit.
We want brands to be there. They can set up a tent and hang out, but
you want them to
party
partake.
favors.
You want them to partake.
Seat locks.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, if you know, because some brands, I don't want to say they've been started and whatnot, but they got a good boost by being at the camp out. You know, you get 500 people that fuck with your brand, and some people all you need is 200 people to have a good business every year, right? So this year we didn't know what to expect. We wanted to get more brands. We realized that by doing giveaways and having like something at the stage, and we did a bike show and shine, but we used our bikes to get people to come in, but we only gave away the prizes to like the guys that are, you know, garage builders or people that are, you know, not brands, not like myself,
and
or
not homies,
and not homies.
Right. Yeah, homies.
So everybody that made a trophy or had something to give away, we found somebody. Like I gave my trophy away to this kid that built his fucking bike in his garage, rode it down from Michigan, and then was ripping wheelies down there like he didn't have that, like it was on his way, the only way to get home. So I'm like, fuck yeah, this dude's getting it. You know what I mean? So we're trying to reinforce people's like, you know what I mean, like if they come out and they try this shit, like just, you know what I mean? We want people to be stoked, you know what I mean? And also be able to come and see other guys that they might follow online and be like, oh shit, that's so-and-so. Speed King Steve was supposed to come down, but he got that build from for Born Free that was like this fucking trike thing that he's just been balls deep in. So there was a couple of brands that were supposed to come out and just couldn't make it, but we want to get more people out there, you know what I mean?
Right on.
So you do it once a year.
Yeah.
What time of the year do you do it?
The beginning of May, end of April. Depends.
Okay. And it's where? Like
in Oklahoma.
Oh, and how many people are joining now? Like how many were there this year?
Some like they said over 1,000.
Oh shit.
But I mean, it was also Mother's Day weekend.
The campground. Oh, okay. I'm
so
sure the campground appreciates it too.
Oh yeah, they take care of us.
Yeah, that's good.
Getting that big, do you feel as though you've been able to keep the culture?
Oh yeah.
Cool.
We're exposing people to what the culture is. You know, it's a vibe check too. I mean, we get a lot of woke ass bitches that come out to it. That, you know,
that's usually what happens.
Yeah, so we're still dealing with that stuff. But and when I say woke ass bitches, I mean woke ass females.
There are plenty of guys that are bitches too.
Yeah, they're trying to fuck those females. It's like, come on, dude. Like, we know what you're doing. We know your game. But other than that, you know, the culture. I mean, the culture that we put out is just the culture that we actually live. Right. You know what I mean? Like, like our culture that we represent, and I try to get my brand to represent, is like we ride bikes. We're not club guys. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be in a club. I don't give a fuck. Y'all are playing a different sport over there. I'm riding bikes cross country.
Yeah.
I'm meeting up with other people that fuck with us in their towns, and we party. You know what I mean? We hung out with some dudes in Missoula, Montana, and fucking he was high on mushrooms the whole time.
Yeah,
they gave me some mushrooms. I was gonna do it, but I was scared. I was like,
you're not gonna not do it when somebody offers them. It's rude.
Cheers to that.
So to me, the culture, you know, I've always said this about the chopper culture, not as a jab, but like, if everybody's gonna go relive the vintage culture, then who's fucking making culture now? And so my thing is like, I do appreciate all those that came before me, but my job is not to suck your dick. My job is to be a fucking man now and do my shit, do it the way I want to do it. You know, as long as people are riding bikes and they're staying putting miles on their bikes, they're staying like being cool and having fun and living like, people are supposed to envy us on motorcycles, not fucking think we're gay. You know what I'm saying?
Nobody thinks I'm fucking gay. I hope not, man. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate that. Well, I'm gonna try and make it out to one of those one of these times.
Yeah, I mean, no worries, man. Like,
I want to experience it. It sounds like something like that I, would do. It's my vibe.
Can do it.
It's my vibe for sure.
What I would say is the same thing. I made a mistake my first Born Free. It's like, you really have to go to different parts of this country and be open-minded enough to let it be whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because when you compare it to the other things that you've done or the other places, then you even I'm saying this as a personal experience. I never allow myself to experience it as what it is. Like, I've gone to Sturgis, I've gone to Daytona. He loves Daytona. I hate it. I was expecting Sturgis, and it's not Sturgis, it's Daytona. So I need to go back to Daytona without my Sturgis glasses on and be like, okay, what the fuck are you? What are we doing here?
Yeah.
You know, what's fun about this place? Because there's no riding. You know what I mean? But everybody has fun there. So what am I missing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's one thing I think you really will like of it, Ray, is the what you're talking about, the canyons and stuff, is there is good riding. I'd be interested to see actually your point of view on how good it is actually.
Yeah.
The weed I brought up here from Texas, we had some real deal California guys look at it and he goes, but what do you say? Not as bad as I thought it'd be. I took that as a compliment, being in the Mecca. Yeah. So, like I said, I'd love to just see what you got to say after going out there blasting. And it's not like it can be an all-day party, a 3-day party if you want to. Never leave the campground. It can be 3 days of balls out riding too if you want it that way.
And that's what I was thinking. Like, I was like, you know what? Where do you guys have it? What's a city in the?
First off, it's not a city.
Or what is it?
It's
what county?
It's rural as fuck. We do it in this town called Moyers. This dude, Adam Sandoval, he's a YouTube guy.
Moyers is Moyers if you got your Google out.
Okay.
So he's a YouTuber guy, but he bought a campground. It's a biker campground. And it's just like, it's primitive. They have like tree houses and some shit like that. You can rent an RV and have it dropped off and show up and jump in it.
It's not that primitive. You can glamp, for sure, but you can also
So they have showers and bathrooms?
Oh, yeah. But you can also get that old school chopper camping vibe. Sleep on an air mattress out in the open, shit on yourself. I mean, it's got something for everybody. And one of the cool things about this guy's campground is since we've started doing that, you literally see it improve every year. Whether it's he builds the pavilion on, he cleans up this area over there. The money that you spend with your camping fees and buying the beer and everything there,
it's going back into,
goes directly back into the camp out. You're not buying him bikes, you're not buying him a house, even though he recently built a house, but he's got other revenue streams. But the campground has grown as this has grown, and it just makes me proud to be a part of it.
That's great.
Yeah, it's like there's really no hotels around, so people can't just come and be a part of that and then go. It's like
you got to be all in.
There's a mutual investment, and that's what I like about it. It's like there's a mutual investment. Everybody in the campground earned their chance to be there. They rode there. I mean, there's people that trailer, but they don't hang out with us.
So you guys start on a Thursday?
We start on Thursday, and then Friday and Saturday, and then people start heading home Sunday.
See, what I would probably be more like, what would be more my style is make it a pit stop along the way. You know, like I make it a nice, like whatever I'm going to do that week, whatever route I'm going to take. If you suggest stopping by, Friday's the best night, Saturday's the best night, then I'll hang out, camp that night, get up early in the morning, and then I'm just going to hit the road and keep on going.
There's a lot of people that do that.
Yeah, we had a dude from San Diego that did that. He came in, stayed the week, then he ended up riding up to Minnesota and did a big loop back home. And yeah, a lot of people do it that way. That's the way we try to recommend it, because I mean, we're not coming here for Born Free, but Born Free is part of this trip. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, which
day are you guys going, by the way?
I got to be there both days.
Oh, you got to be there both days?
Yeah, okay. That's going to be in somebody's booth.
And gotcha. Who's?
Basani.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
All right.
And then Sunday, I wanted to just go home Sunday, but all the homies are coming up. Big Trouble, my machinist, our dude Jetty. Like, we got a lot of those guys coming out here, and it's kind of their first time in California, so I'm kind of, I want to be a part of that experience for them. You know what I'm saying? You know, because in a sense,
You're also probably ready to get home too.
I am ready to get home. I'm tired of jerking off.
Happy Father's Day.
It's getting old. But at the same time, I don't know, man. What's up, guys? I need to drop in real quick and give a big thank you and shout out to thundermax EFI for helping me make this podcast trip possible. I just got home from a 28-day, 7,200-mile bike trip where I at least filled up my gas tank once a day. My 131 was humming through the desert, mountains, forests, and even plenty of rain. The thundermax ECM kept my bike running and operating like a champ. With its auto-tuning technology, the elevation, humidity, and temperature changes never affected my bike's performance. Their ECMs are a must for anyone looking to add all the Go Fast goodies to your EFI-equipped Harley Davidson. My Road Glide is paired with the thundermax cooling fan, which is available for the touring M8 models. Lane splitting in California's traffic and heat gets the motor oil hot, but with the fan, I was able to keep my bike's temps in the safe zone. Check out all these amazing products at shoptmax.com, and when you're ready to make the upgrade, use FASTLIFE at checkout to save yourself 10%. Now let's get back to the show. So much of my life in the last 10 years has been revolved around California with my wife, and so much opportunity to work out here that, you know, seeing a lot of my homies finally make the track out here. Because as much as I'm trying to get dudes in Cali to go that way, I'm trying to get these dudes to come this way. You know what I mean? That's true. That's honest to God. That's what I'm trying to do.
And just so they can experience it, they okay.
It's fucking amazing out here, man.
It is. I mean, fuck. I'm not gonna lie.
See,
we pay the fucking tax.
And we also pay.
Thank you
out here.
for your service.
Yeah, we pay the fucking note to live out here.
Yeah.
That ain't no joke.
But yeah, I mean, everybody should experience, you know, riding motorcycles in California. It's surreal, man.
Which way did you come down here, by the way? From I saw you were in Pismo or something like that.
Nah, we were gonna make it to Pismo, but when we landed to San Luis Obispo, we were looking for a hotel, but everything out there Saturday night was on like, hey, you're trying to do something this weekend kind of prices, and we were like, no, we just want a cheap ass hotel to sleep in and rub one out, and then we're on the road. You know what I'm saying? And so fortunately we had 2 different rooms, so yeah.
Thin walls or insulated?
No, AirPods, dude.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, he hadn't ridden the coast, the PCH yet, and this was my first time riding PCH North, going like San Francisco North, and this part's better.
This part's better?
Yeah.
From which part? Like, which part did you...
Monterey down.
Down? Yeah. That's Big Sur, through all that stuff.
Shit, yeah.
All depends on traffic.
It does.
Yeah,
and
that's true, too.
I've ridden it enough times where, like, especially when the first time I rode, like, my bagger down it, I was like, fuck, I'm going to rip this. And it's like, you're not. You're going to get stuck behind one of those fucking renting RV fucking things and whatnot. So I just kind of enjoyed it. And,
Cruise in America? Or,
some shit like that.
Yeah, well, there's certain parts of that I'm sure you can go ahead and rip, and there's other parts that you just want to, like, idle it and just, like,
let it coast.
Look around and then take in the scenery, you know?
Exactly.
It's too good of a ride just to haul ass through the whole entire way. You know?
We've been, you know, talking about.
I don't know about that.
Well, it's in our backyard, Dave. We can go one ride and like say haul ass, and then next week we'll go like let's cruise this way. Yeah, it's in our backyard.
We fell in love with Idaho. I don't know if y'all ridden any of that yet.
I just last year in August I did a 7-state 5 days or something like that, and one of them that I came down through was Idaho.
Do you remember which roads you came down? Was it like,
you know what? It was one of the few, well, not one of the few rides, but it was one of the rides where I was just a follower. I was like, where
were you riding along a river?
Yeah, the Snake River, I think, is what it was.
Yeah,
the Snake River.
Be one of the
13 and 14, right?
Yeah, I believe so, dude.
I rode along that river, like, I think along one side of it on one state, like in Utah or something like that, on this side of it, and then we came back down and we were riding on it on the other side through Idaho, like coming back down south. But I think it was called the Snake River.
Yeah, that one definitely I think that goes through Boise and all that shit. But
yeah,
dude, it's beautiful, man. And
it's gorgeous.
Idaho was nice. Yeah,
we like those little college towns, man.
Why would you like those?
It's fun. They have more bars, man. They have more nightlife.
They have
you know
more
what I mean?
Bars and booties.
Yeah.
In Idaho,
they do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even remember where we stayed. I'd have to look, man, because my homeboys were the ones that like got their shit, and I'm like, here, I'll just pitch in, and wherever you're staying, I'll sleep on the floor. I don't care. And I don't know what city it was, but I didn't take any offense to it, so nobody get all tweaked out or anything, but I've never heard the term wetback thrown around so loosely before in my entire life, man.
There are a lot of white boys that look like me.
Boy, man, I was sitting there at the bar and they were looking at me and they were like, yeah, we had a couple of wetbacks that were coming back, and I was like, damn. Yeah, I didn't take any offense to it, dude, man. It was my homeboys. Yeah, I was like, I'm a Trump. No, my homeboys were like,
I'm with you guys.
I took zero. I don't get offended like that. To them, it was like legit. It was a little bit of a culture shock, because to them, they weren't meaning it like in any derogatory way or anything like that, and it's just the way that they knew and referred to them, or referred to them to refer to a Mexican and shit,
I guess the one racist thing that I had it's what's it called when you're racist but you didn't know it? It's like a
bigot?
No.
Is it implicit bias, maybe?
I don't know. It's like it's not racist like I hate it, but it's like
racist.
Yeah, it's like every once in a while we're in a really northern state. I'm like, damn, I didn't know Mexicans made it this far up. You know what I'm
saying? There's a lot in Chicago.
Yeah,
there's like like Chicago's like a hub for them and shit.
Yeah. Well, it's a good drug run that goes.
Yeah, I know. That's the hub. That's another conversation. That's a whole nother thing.
I, for one, love my Hispanic brethren and feel like they are the backbone of this great country. So
Ray knows. I'm white on the outside. I'm brown on the inside.
Yes, that's what we. Dave lives out here in Santa Paula, and that's what he always throws around.
There's one thing I do love about like tacos out here, the shit. Best tacos in the country.
I was about to ask, have you where are you stopping?
I haven't.
Where are you going?
All my favorite taco spots were in Stockton, and they're all gone.
Okay, Dave, around here, where are you going to recommend that he goes for tacos? I mean, shit, you can go anywhere.
Avenue. Telephone.
Avenue. You want seafood?
No. Well, we were gonna rip through because we're gonna go to Venice, so we're gonna go to Neptune's on the way back, just because we're probably not gonna come back this far.
Okay.
On our way going east, and but yeah, when I would go up to Stockton to paint, there was like a taco truck everywhere, and there was like one that was the shit. It was the best tacos of my life.
Yep.
But I do miss Tex-Mex right now, pretty heavy. We've had a couple Mexican joint stops, and now they weren't California. It was like Idaho or
Reno.
Reno, yeah, it was okay.
No.
Reno's fun, but I don't go there for Mexican.
Yeah.
So Neptune's, and that's the next spot.
Yeah.
That's where you guys are rolling.
I love their clam chowder, dude. I love it. Bomb. It's so good there.
Clam strips.
I'm just not a clam chowder guy. I'll get the fish and chips and shit. Just but the fish and chips is generic ass shit from there. It's whatever.
I got the shrimp.
You got the shrimp?
Remember that?
Oh, is that from
Fast and Furious?
Is that from Fast and Furious? Oh, man. Do we get stereotyped with that shit all the time out here?
I got the shrimp.
Is that something you watched growing up?
Fuck yeah. That's why I got into all this shit.
Really?
Yeah.
Fast and Furious?
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah, I guess I grew up in that. I grew up like the what baited me was my dad and stuff, but like what really got me was like the biker build off shit.
Yeah. I mean, that's what got me into bikes, but Fast and Furious, I did a lot of car shit way before I got into bikes, and my first time ever coming to California was we drove a long ass trailer up here, and we used to come pick up front clips from like Nissans and stuff. So basically, they would cut the cars in half in Japan, and then they would ship them over here, and then we would take the whole front clip of the car, and then they were all like turboed out fast ass motors. So we would take them back to Texas and sell them. And so the import days back in the early 2000s, like, dude, like I said, you come out here, you can buy a front clip for like $1,500. To go home and just, they'd come with parts on it too. So you'd sell the motor by itself for like $3,000, and then you have all these parts on it that you can sell to other shit. And if somebody wanted to buy the whole thing, you can sell for like $4 or $5 grand.
Wow.
And so, like, I remember we had to repo a fucking Honda motor out of some dude's place in, like, not Inglewood, but, like, a little bit further south in Inglewood. It was, like, some area, and we were just sitting in the parking garage, like, hand tools, like, fucking pulling the whole motor out, just lifting it and putting it in the truck. And like, all right, bud. Because he didn't, I don't know. I was too young to know what the circumstances were, but I was just like, hey, man, take that motor out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah, that was my first time ever coming to Cal. It was 2002. And then I came back here in 2000.
How old are you, dog? How old are you?
I'm 40 in 2 months.
Oh, shit, I'm 40. So when's your birthday?
September 29th.
Oh, shit, we're damn near, like, October 11th. I'm up, and I'll be 40 on October 11th, yeah.
So you're going to call me sir now.
Pull up your brakes, dog.
I'll be 55 in
But
November.
I guess if you want the sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir.
Yes, sorry,
All
sir.
good.
Look at that white is wisdom, right, Dave? That white,
you gotta earn
is
new
nothing
shit.
but wisdom.
Shit's getting white, bro. I'm trying to find a haircut spot. But my second time coming here was I worked for a lowrider company, Tours Empire, and his wife, they're part San Bernardino Casino.
Oh, wow.
So his wife's part of the tribe there, so they have ungodly amounts of money. But they live half in Texas and half here, right? Because that's how they, you can get their money every month. Is you got to have dual residency or stay on the reservation.
Right.
And so in 2011, he hosted the first lowrider show in downtown LA since the 90s, because they had stopped doing it because of whatever, know. And same thing happened again. Like, all these different car clubs started fucking beefing and shit. But for me as a painter at that time, I was more in the paint world. I rode bikes. I had plenty. I was still really in the bike world. But I was more interested in being an artist in the paint world than a biker, if that made sense, in 2011. And that was the first time I ever rode here, because we got to trailer our bikes. We threw them in the trailer and brought them out here. So we were riding up and down PCH, or at least the Malibu side of it and shit like that. But yeah, we worked that show. I got to fucking see all the painters I'd idolized, Fonzie and OG Abel, and a plethora of like actual lowrider painters that I had grew up looking in the magazines and things like that. And what's crazy is some of them knew me, and I was like, "Fuck, really?" Because I had a feature in Lowrider Art a couple of months, like a year or two before that, something like that. So it was pretty cool. It was pretty surreal to kind of have a reciprocation from some of the people that you idolize growing up, and they kind of at least know who you are.
Good feeling.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
no, that's the sense of accomplishment. Like, you've done something, like your work has been recognized. I can understand that shit, man. That's a good feeling. That's, as men, we chase that shit.
Best feeling.
Yeah, we don't chase it, but that's definitely like,
it doesn't hurt to have it.
Fuck no, man, not at all. Not at all. So Venice is the next stop, and then you guys are...
So Venice for 3 days. Like I said, my wife's... I think she's her aunt, but...
Crashing at families, and basically.
Yeah, and I love her, dude. She's like an OG Venice person that's been there forever. So her house is like small. It's got 2 fucking mansions next door. Her shit's still the OG way.
Did she tell you stories about what Venice was? And what's happening now?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, and her husband, he's passed since, but he was part of, like, he was in some bands in the 60s. And then he became part of the just music in the Hollywood scene of like cult commercials and movies and things like that. So it's crazy, because I've sat there and had dinner at their house, and there'll be an up and coming comedian sitting there, because Venice as a whole is a small, tight knit community of people.
Old school Venice.
Yeah. And it's like Pierpont, it's like down Oxnard Shores, and it's like these places that my mother-in-law, same thing. She has a place down at the beach here, down at Mandalay, and it's this little shack that's in between. Now the houses to the left and right of her aren't mansions, but definitely ones along the street. Her house is just like this little original thing, and her mom will tell me stories of like growing up there, where it's like, oh yeah, we just walk to the beach, and it was like, and now different ball game. Venice is like, I haven't been since COVID.
Oh shit!
So the last time I went was 19.
Yeah, there's a bunch of homeless and stuff. Like
there was already a bunch of homeless.
But it's like riddled, man. Yeah. Like it's like riddled. Like block your shit up and everything.
I'm about to piss on myself.
Yeah, man, go piss, dude. Anyone else got to go take a piss?
Yeah,
go take a piss, man. Go line them up over there, man. I feel like I got to do the same.
All right.
So guys, this is Dragon. I'm gonna come at you with some tips of the road since I'm the only one here. Trying to save money on a big trip like this. One thing I've noticed is carry a bottle of water with you. Buy at the first stop, and then most places will let you fill it up. And if it's a big truck stop, not a mom and pop place, steal something. Definitely shoplift. Candy bar, bag of chips. You can put that in your hoodie pretty easy. Everything's a buy one get one for free sale if you are brave enough. Let me see another travel tip coming at you from the road. California. Oh, if CHP is hassling you, run. Don't stop. Just keep going. And if all else fails, if they do catch up with you,
always run.
If they do catch up with you, just shoot them. You're in California anyways. The last thing they expect you to have is a gun, so they definitely won't expect that. What other travel tips do I have? If your wife or girlfriend is bothering you about being gone too long, I don't know. I'm gonna save that one for a Patreon episode.
Dog sweet. She just want to be petted. That's all she wants. Is it a girl?
I think so.
Getting bucked up on Modelo's. These usually give me the worst headaches in the world. Those chiladas are off the chain though. At least I got my fix for I really want a Bloody Mary so fucking bad right now.
Yeah, I told you I don't fuck with that. Thanks for the beers, my man.
No worries, man.
Yeah, for sure. This is where I'm gonna put the commercial.
There you go.
Yeah.
After my tips.
The tips of the road.
Did you tell him about your hey, you want to save money on the trip?
Oh yeah, went through that one.
Steal.
Yeah, dude, just shoplift.
Yeah. 2-for-1 special.
Went with the CHP one. I hit the brakes on the.
Just cheat. So
thanks for taking that break. I appreciate that.
Do you want to talk about some of the Live Fast Rally and how some of that came to be and its progression?
Fuck yeah.
I mean, they hear about my camp out so much, I'll probably just cut that out.
No, it's all good. So yeah, it started out with some friends of mine who were really tight. They grew up in the San Ynez Valley, and there aren't really many bike events up there at all.
Yeah,
there's more down here in Ventura County. And they just had the thought, hey, wouldn't it be nice to be able to drink a beer by your bike? Because the bike nights that they were doing, it's like, yeah, you can drink a beer in a bar.
Yeah,
all the bikes are parked outside.
Yeah. So
that's where it all came from.
Yeah.
And so Live Fast 1 was at the Maverick in San Ynez, and it was a good event. It takes a shit ton of work.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah, we put it on, and chunk of the proceeds always go to the vets. Anything that we make, it goes into the next event. We put all the manpower in, lay down all the AstroTurf, tear it all out afterwards. Damn. Yeah, it's everyone's hands-on. Everyone promotes it. We try and keep it very grassroots and very true to what we do, and it's about riding in brotherhood. Same thing how your stuff has started. So I started with it was 2018 I think was the first one. 2019 was number 2. We didn't do anything during COVID. And then 21 we were at the depot up in Los Alamos, and this year, I mean, some stuff went sideways with the spot that we did last year. It was a great event. We got away with murder. As far as pulling permits and all that kind of stuff. We got away with murder. Is
it not private property where you're at, or?
So this year is. Okay. So the event we just had, friends of friends, we got a hold of a private ranch. It takes a whole lot more to pull it off at a private spot that's super remote. I mean, there's no infrastructure there. When you have it at a bar, they have a lot of stuff already there. So it took more work, but it
didn't think of it that way at all. And because you guys built that bar and everything that was in the barn, huh? It was like an old fashioned like holes in the roof barn. It was like a legit barn and stuff. And they built like a barn or a bar top and everything in there to have. Who'd you bring in? Agua Santo?
Agua Santa was the beer distributor, so that's Fig Mountain.
Yeah, they had their own bartenders and all that stuff.
Yeah, and then a buddy of ours actually had the bar, but they had Fig Mountain beers there too, and hard liquor and everything. We just try to keep it old school. We try to keep it local vendors, people we know, people we trust, people whose shit we actually put on our bikes. And good bands, local bands, California bands. Slow races were the best this year. Those finals were fucking the shit. Yeah, and it was on dirt. Yeah, so
and uneven with that gravel
dirt. Water truck at the end.
Yeah, climbing up on the water. If y'all wanted like a cool idea for an event or for a challenge, lowest balls contest.
Lowest ball.
Who's got the biggest hangers?
Depending what time of the day it is, and like everything.
So
it's a two birds with one stone thing because it kind of helps fend off the wokeness. You can also have a titty competition in the same.
I got you. It kind of balances out. It eliminates the riffraff, so to speak, is what it does, right?
So all the purple haired chicks have something to look at too.
I don't want to see that.
I got it on video.
Yeah, but I get it in the terms of like, okay, hey, if you're a boy, you're cool, you're down, you're in this shit, you're okay to expose a nut or so, sure. Like.
Well, we pulled a Uno reverse at the camp out, and the first night there was a dump them out. If you want to win some, dump them out, and a few girls did on stage. And the next day they thought we were going to run it back, and it turned into all right, boys, who's hanging the furthest?
It's like two dudes did it, and one of them, like, his pants were down first, and he bent over, and his nuts were tucked, dude. So he's like trying to slap him and shit. This other dude hit him, and it's like all you see is like.
It looked like the back of one of those redneck trucks.
I have a question. Who judged this?
The people.
It should have been for the people.
There wasn't a ruler or anything involved in this, was there?
It was funny because I don't know if it was my camera angle or another camera angle. All you could see is like you got the side shot of the asses, and then you scroll out to the crowd, and they're all like this.
Of course they are. The one person in the crowd who wasn't like that is like, fuck you.
No, what'd you expect? Yeah, I would have been the same exact way. Boy.
I like, and that's why,
Dave, put that one on the list.
No, that's not on the list. So we're going to do, one of the things we want to do is the weenie thing where you ride by and do that. And
with guys?
With the chick on the back? No.
JJ has been there every single year, the hot dog lady.
I actually had her sit down with me in my podcast this year. She's a fucking
She's amazing, and she lays down miles.
270,000 miles
on
she's put down on that 98 Softail. She's visited every state. She's put down wheels on it in every single state.
It's fucking awesome.
But Hawaii, 270,000. She changed it out at 210,000 miles.
Yeah.
And
she has stories, and she has the most awesome sense of humor.
She's a riot. Yeah. She's a blast. You'll probably see her at Born Free.
For real?
I'm sure.
She'll be there.
Yeah, walking around. So, yeah.
Hot dog in a cup right here.
Just
long. Oh, yeah.
I'm throwing them back.
I saw it on the 2 Lane Life thing. I think they had posted something about her. Like,
I've got her on there, too. That's the lid. Yeah, that's her.
You need help, baby?
Yeah. Open that.
Got it there? Okay.
You're going to chart it all off. There you go.
There you go.
Well, it's the same reason, like, because I know you had Papa Juan on here too on yours.
Oh yeah.
The reason I wanted to have him is we like fun. Like, I understand that bike culture has always been serious and shit, but it's just, I feel like it's serious now when we look back at them, but when they were doing it, they were having fun. It was all shooting the shit. It was, it's like the Daveman posters. You see them fucking squirting mustard on the fucking on the prospect. It's all supposed to be fun while you're doing it, and and taken seriously when the outsiders are looking in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, next spot is fucking event is Born Free. Is Born Free the turnaround spot? Like turn around, go home after we're done at Born Free?
Just pass through and go home.
Pass through. Which way are you going?
East. We'll probably just go through Phoenix and try to jam home in 2 days. So
okay. Yeah. So like when it's time to go home, it's time to go home. No more stopping.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like go home.
That's why I've always gave Californians a pass about going east. Is it like you have to go through?
You know what that is like.
You have to go through a lot of shit to get to. I mean, perspective wise, like you're gonna go past the good shit and get into another area of nothing, and then you know what I mean. There's lots of like you leave California, you got the desert between Arizona and California or Nevada, and then there's some cool shit in fucking Arizona to go see, like Jerome and Payson and all that shit, Bisbee, things like that. New Mexico's it's got some good spots in there, but that fucking state as a whole is just kind of like they want to be woke, but they don't have the money. You know what I'm saying?
Great Value, California.
Yeah. Politics wise.
And any of us at the end of a trip or end of the run, I mean, we all get barn sour too.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to see my lady. I want to see my kids.
Exactly.
And you just want to lay down miles and get there.
That homesick feeling is probably it's a high. I told my wife before, I was like, I got to stop chasing it because it's like some people get in arguments to make up. I go on a long trip and miss the fuck out of you and come home, and you know what I mean?
That's good.
It's good, but it's not good if you do it all the time,
right?
Because it's better that way. You know what I'm saying?
This is the longest on the road for you?
Oh yeah, for sure for me, yeah.
Prior to this, what was it?
2 weeks. We usually keep them around 2 weeks. Even when I would travel for work, it usually stay at 2 weeks. Maybe 15 days. Never more than 16. I don't think so. Sometimes I used to just fly her here, and then we do a trip, and then once we got to Venice, she was already here with her family, and then we'd hang out and things like that, and then I continue on. But
well, what I will say, homeboy, is just respect to the miles, I guess, to the round trip that you are putting down on the journey and shit.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to fucking sound cliche or any of that bullshit, but when it really just comes down to it, we always say it's just about sitting on that damn bike, man. Yeah. It's your time on the seat, not anything else, man. So I respect the shit out of the fact that you are riding and doing it, and you don't need to thank me, but I can respect the fuck out of that, and the fact that you hit me up, you're like, hey, let's sit down, let's talk. I'm down to talk it out. I told you in the messages that we went back and forth on, shows character, shows volume and character and stuff. So I'm always open for a discussion, and I'm glad that we were able to sit down and do this.
Yeah, it's better that way because most differences can be talked out.
Yeah, and I don't think there's differences. What would you say is, like, after sitting down for a little bit?
I think that you guys y'all have such a rich history here that you're trying to preserve and also give it the credit that it's owed, right? And then, like I said, I understand where both of y'all are coming from. I think that's the main thing. It's just like figuring out how to expose that, how to put it out there. And also, like I said, I know that this style of motorcycle is very dear to the generations before us, especially in this area. So I understand where you're coming from on it.
Okay.
100%. But there's also, like I said, my angle where I'm like, I'm fucking just, hey, what's going on? What are we doing? Oh, you do that? Cool, man. You want to come on the podcast? Oh, you're a fake? You're full of shit? Like, you don't know that all the time. But conversations, in my opinion, are the way to go about it. And like I said, when I've hung out with this dude a couple times already.
I didn't even know that, actually. He hit me up and he's like, he's coming? I'm like, yeah.
And it's like, when I first started coming around, if I knew how much, because I didn't know how much you were involved in this, it'd been an easy podcast 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you're not necessarily like, hey, man, I'm fucking so-and-so. I do this. I fucking do this. I put on the
I'm not online. I'm not,
exactly.
I'm
so
not that
guy. It's out of sight, out of mind for some of us. You know what I'm saying? So, but conversations open up those pathways, and they open up those situations and whatnot, and allow those things to be talked out, figured out, or educated, if you will.
Yeah.
And it's dope. I think it's fine. I think that the best way to go about this, especially if you want to like just enjoy a very, very long life of motorcycles outside of your city limits, is the more people that's one thing that we pride ourselves on, is that we have to ride through a lot of part of the country that sucks, but we always have somebody rad that we're on our way to see.
Yeah.
And it makes it better. You know what I'm saying? So we're, when you come east and you do cross the Rockies and now you're in the plains, you got some homies in Dallas, man. We're going to show you a good time. We got that shit too, man. Yeah. So
no, we can fuck with that, man. We get that, and we do the same thing on our journeys and our routes along the way. But I think this was really good to sit down and chop it up, have a beer with you, talk it out, and like I said from the jump, no animosity, no hatred or anything like that in any sense. It was just, me throwing a little shade, me being who I am and letting you know, hey, it's little old me over here letting you know. And for whatever reason, it got, like you said, you can't respond to everything.
Yeah.
Or for whatever reason, whatever it is that I said somehow caught some wind and got your attention in whatever way. Because I'm sure people tag you and shit all the time.
Well, no, I mean, obviously I'm good friends with everybody else, and they're all my friends. I love them to death, but I don't lean into drama. And from our side of it, it felt like drama. They kind of leaned into it more, and I can have a conversation about that. I even told all of them, I was like, look, if you keep antagonizing situations, they don't go away. Like, you know what I mean? And that's one thing I told them. But me, I love motorcycles, and as an industry guy, it's really easy to fall out of love with motorcycles in general, just dealing with customers and dealing with the workplace of motorcycles. Yeah. So I don't necessarily want to go out and chase it. It gives me anxiety. I don't really want to deal with it. I'd rather.
Life's too short.
Yeah. Like this is my escape from the thing I do that's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the fair assessment for me, the takeaway from this talking to you and is that you are in it from a different perspective than I am.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think now that we've sat down, I can now that we've discussed it, I can see why, or I can see that talking to you. And I knew that going into it, but hearing the facts and the stuff behind it, it makes more sense. I'm like, I'm invested more into it culturally, where you're invested more into it industry-wise and everything. And from just, I guess, speaking, the fair way for me to just say my piece with all of it is to say, from a culture perspective, anybody, this doesn't just go for you, this goes for Harley, this goes for whoever, to represent the industry or to represent the culture in a good way, I guess, the way that the way that I think you could agree that maybe the culture that exists. I'll tell you who I think is fucking like who I dig, and he fucking like Crucy. That dude fucking man cracks me up. Seems like he's lived the fucking hard life, fucking went through some shit, and he's just fucking like done the shit, gone through it all, and like out there just doing the shit. I'm like that. I see it. So I think that's what the difference is sometimes between maybe what I see and then what somebody from the industry like yourself is. I
think some people are not used to seeing bikers like us that are like smiles, having fun, talking about.
We smile all the time, man. We smile all the time.
I don't think a lot of us represent like more of the tough guy biker. You know what I mean? I don't look like that, at all. I had people telling me not to wear red and white shoes while I was riding down.
Come on, you don't think that you would, like, if you took a look in the mirror, you wouldn't think that you would, to some people, represent that, the tattoos, the bike.
You know what I've always tried to do? Like when it comes to like the way we dress, right? Working in a shop, I've always said this: Dickies are second nature. $20 at Walmart,
like workwear.
Yeah, it's workwear. But I've always talked about this. I was never a Vans guy. My wife did that shit to me. She's from California. Hey, these are $40. You keep buying those Jordans over there, you're gonna go broke. So eventually, I was like, "Yeah, you're right."
Well, they're not $40 anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
They're not cheap anymore.
$70
Yeah, I know.
Save your ankles. Boots.
I walk around.
I don't ride as hard as you guys do. I don't wreck.
I don't. You know what?
Good for you.
Yeah, I know. Cheers to that. Cheers. You ever knock on the floor? There's some over there. There's some on the floor. Knock on your. Here, right here, man. Yeah.
But no, I because even when we go to like the way I look, right? When I go to our biker bar in Dallas, and especially the way my bike looks, like those old fucking dudes out there, like, look at this fucking yuppie over here. He doesn't ride his bike. He doesn't do this, doesn't do that. And what I look like going over, actually, sir, look at my old. You know what I mean? Like I kind of like that. I don't want to look like anybody else. I want to, like I said before, like. This is my generation. I'm fucking trying to represent mine. I'll definitely pay homage to everybody else, but y'all had y'all shot.
Yeah.
You pass the torch to me. This is my time to shine and show the world what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? And that's also what you're doing and everybody else across the country. And I feel like it doesn't mean that we forget or we don't fucking people have to pass the torch. You know what I'm saying?
I guess that's where we're gonna what do they call it? Agree to disagree type thing. I understand passing the torch. You're passing the torch generationally to be able to hey, you lead the charge now. You're the one that's on the hype, but not necessarily in the sense of here, you're the one to lead it and not manipulate it. That's a totally wrong word. You're the one to lead it, and in addition to define it and make it what it is. And maybe that's what it is. That's exactly what I think when it falls down to it. That's the difference when it's black and white. Where I see it way more culturally. You see it hey, I need to turn and take my business to the next level on the industry side.
Yeah. When our ancestors or your ancestors here were doing what they didn't have credit scores they had to worry about, did they?
No, you're right. In those terms, no, absolutely not.
We live in a different world where a lot of the things that made this world that we live in now, you can't do that anymore.
Correct.
You can't.
No, but we have the ability now to be able to even do it more. So I can broadcast that old school culture now in today's world. I can continue.
What does that do for your legacy, though?
It doesn't do anything for my legacy. It's not necessarily my legacy.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Hang on. We're all leaving a legacy, intentional or unintentional.
True.
Yes.
So the difference, I think, is what kind of legacy you leave, and usually a lot of it's going to be intentional, a lot of it's going to be unintentional, and it's how you live. How you ride, if we're talking about motorcycles, and the character that's built into the next generation, and what they're going to carry forward. There are tons of people who will come up and they'll start doing their own thing, which is fine. Anyone on two wheels, I'm so happy that they're on two wheels. Some people come up from deeper roots and they want that style of legacy, and a lot of it's culture.
Yeah.
And they want that to come through.
Yeah.
And the way I raise my kids, the guys that we ride with, that's very deep roots.
Yeah.
You're bringing your style and everything. You have a huge platform. You're laying down miles, and you're bringing a lot of that old school stuff too.
Yeah.
Props to that. But it's just, we're all leaving a legacy one way or another.
Yeah.
It's that was a bad way I said it.
No,
I'm not trying to say my goal is to leave a legacy. My goal is just not to. No matter how you say it,
it's not just to pass the baton, so to speak. I mean, make an impact.
My buddy Zombie Mike, he's an OG booze fighter, or not an OG. He was a booze fighter, but he passed on wisdom to me about. I don't want this shit to die on my watch. Right? I'm not trying to assume.
Very well said.
I'm not trying to assume ownership of this, but some of us don't assume any kind of ownership. We just take. This is the motorcycle culture scene. This is the motorcycle culture team, and everybody's taking their shit off of it. Oh man, let me get some of that. That looks like a good time over there. Nobody's putting anything else back on it.
Right.
So in retrospect, there's so much of that out there, right?
Okay.
The only thing that is going to be inspiring to other people coming up is what motorcycles bring you, which is the joy of riding them. So if you can find a way to make that look like fun instead of just spending money on your bike. Don't get me wrong. This culture, this performance bagger culture now, there's a lot of dudes that don't get it. They got nice bikes. They do this shit. Our camp out is we're trying to get people to understand what this is about. Ride your bike.
All right.
At the end of the day, I can't tell you hey, this whole continent is full of different club cultures and different club vibes and different histories, right? And I don't give a fuck about any of them. All I care about is ride your bike and go have fun and try to show some respect to the definitely show respect to everything that was done in the past, you know what I'm saying? But also try to fucking, make it. Can you make this funner for us? Is there a way?
Leave it better than
can somebody please get lane splitting for the nation to happen? You know what I mean?
That'd be awesome.
Nice.
That'd be amazing.
It'd be nice. I like I said, I don't think any of us really want to be the torch bearers, right? but subconsciously we all want to see it grow. We all seen our kids do it.
Yep.
You know, I want to be 50 years old. What are you, 50?
I'll be 55 in November.
I want to be his age and be like, fuck, I want to do what he's doing right now. I'm hoping I have the body for that shit. You know what I'm saying? We were at Victor's house.
Yeah.
Dude came up, cool ass dude was like, yeah, man. I wanted to ride into my 80s, but what was he,
73? He was hanging it up at 73.
He just 100 miles. He was done for 4 days afterwards. He couldn't do it anymore.
And not all the way. He's gotten into fishing, but he's going to buy like a little 125 that their other home, I guess. He's got some trails and something that's
going to be worth.
It was cool. He said he was going to rig up something where he could still get on the bike and put his fishing gear and go, ride to some kind of remote spots. But as far as on his Ultra or whatever he has doing, he said more than 100 miles in a day, and I'm sold for like 4 days.
Watch out now, cut him off.
It's not fun like it used to be, and I get that, but it was hard. Packing my thing in over here, I'm talking to Vic, and it just heartbreaking. It just reminds me.
I remember
we all have an expiration date.
Correct.
My brother and I've told this story a million times, but we went to Sturgis. I was on my FXR in 2017, and we camped. It's the first time I ever camped in Sturgis, and next to me, this dude that was 73, he was on an FXR. That's how we started talking. He was camping too. And he was like, yeah, these guys, I worked with them. We all live in different parts of the country. We met in Dodge City, and we rode to Sturgis together. But we used to work at this place in San Diego. All of us worked there. And we all rode together like in the 90s or some shit like that. And he goes, yeah, this is the last Sturgis for me. I just want to come out with these guys, and we're going to... This motherfuckers outdrank us.
Practice.
Dude, we were just sitting there drinking with them, and they were telling us all these fucking stories of their friendships. And I was sitting there, this is before the podcast, I'm just like, and then what happened, dude? How did that end?
Fuck her or not?
And to me, like, if I could have, that's the culture that I fucking love.
Well, and you're laying down those memories.
Yeah. But
some of us just have to wear less leather to do it. Leave it better than you found it.
Yeah.
No, but I get what you're saying. You're like, like you said earlier, you can't see what we're talking about, but your analogy or descriptive where you're like, if this is it and I'm taking from it, what am I putting back into the community? Yeah. I understand that stamp. I understand wanting you to do that or wanting to do that. And I guess that's just where everyone is different, right? Everyone has a difference of opinion. You want to contribute it. You want to. It sounds like you're. I'm not speaking for you, but you want to contribute more in that way and leave your legacy, as we say, quote legacy in that way. I want to make sure that mine is like, hey, he paid. I don't care what part I paid. It's important for me that I carry this culture and this lifestyle just to the next generation, whether it was praised by people or whether it was any of that. It's just important for me that it's like, here, I pass this on through, because I'll tell you what, man, nobody else in my family, like my mom's side of the family, I am the only. I'm the only one. So like, it's not like it's like a lifestyle, like a whole thing for me on that side. It's just, in those terms, I guess, legacy, again, air quote wise,
You want to make sure you put a lot more fucking food on that table than you ate off of it.
I guess so. Yeah. That's the way you want. That's that's everyone. That's what everyone should want to do when their legacy is.
I use that table and food analogy a lot in a lot of different scenarios, because I feel like in so many areas, we all get conditioned to get ours, right? Hey man, I'm trying to get mine, I'm trying to get whatever, but it's very most people aren't buying a Harley going, yeah, I'm fucking giving back to the culture right now.
Right.
You're right. When they're going to buy brand new ones, I would not deny it. Well, very few.
I mean, like that's not necessarily an inspiring reason for most of the people in the country to buy a bike. It's like, what am I going to get out of this, right?
But exactly what you said right now is there's not a lot of people that are going to buy new ones for that culture thing. That's what I'm like. That's where I'm like, I don't want that to die. I want you to buy a fucking Harley because it was like a culture thing. You remember? Well, I don't know if you remember, but Terminator was like my fucking. I think that's probably where my dad was like, I want a fucking Harley. That was like a late 80s.
92.
Yeah, that was like early
Terminator,
90s.
Wait.
Yeah.
I remember Terminator 2.
Yeah, I was like 10 years old, man. My dad, my dad had me when he was 8. I was young, man. So
when he's on the Fat Boy, right?
And he mobbed that thing off the LA River. Yeah, Terminator.
90, that was
that's his
T2.
Fat Boy right there. Exactly.
Nice.
Yep.
T2. I remember the kid came to school with T2 carved in his hair.
That was the shit, man. Yeah.
Third grade.
I guess
Third grade.
when it comes down to it, that's just, I think that's where I would walking into this, I'm glad we had the conversation, and I think I can comfortably say walking away from the table that I would go, hey, you're seeing it now. I'm able to see it through your goggles a little bit more, that it's the industry side of it that you're a little bit more engulfed in, where I'm the more culture side of it. And that's where our difference of opinions would just line up.
Agreed.
Know? So, yeah.
It's dark, bro.
What is that?
Negro.
I know. It's all
That's
I
why I
have
call
left, homeboy.
Hey, you don't say that.
Yeah, we don't say that anymore.
Yeah, you can't. Oh, shit. Yeah, you can't say shit
Alana and
nowadays.
Nelda.
man. Damn.
It's called dark, dude.
It's all dark. Is
Is that how you
I don't
have
think
to
you can say
refer to
dark
it?
anymore.
We can say what you want.
It's called those people.
On that note, can I just...
What do you mean, you people?
Did you guys see the latest video of him falling down on the ground?
Oh gosh.
Oh, my
Oh,
Biden.
yeah.
Oh, my
Me?
gosh.
We all voted for him.
I was like, no, dude, I don't even know this guy.
I don't want it. I don't mean for it to go that
Call
way.
me back
but
when your state turns red, bro.
gosh. Shit, listen, you're talking to red-minded.
We're so glad he got up, because second in charge.
Yeah, that was y'all
Oh,
too.
yeah. Well, that was... Unfortunately, that was you guys, too.
Us, we did that.
Yeah, I know. But let me just say, for the record, I will say that
We're about to turn blue too, because everybody moved out there.
just because we're in blue or just because we're in a blue state does not mean I am blue. Let me just put that on the record.
It's crazy when you hear everywhere in the country when the streets get closer to each other, everything turns that way. But when you're out anywhere in the suburbs, the country, it's fucking like proud. And I don't like the whole team. Look, it's a party, not a person, right?
Yeah.
And some people lean into the person thing like it's a sports team or some shit, but it's not. But no, I
that would be me. I'll say it. Hey, but you know what? I'll say it in that term. It's not necessarily like a sports team.
Yeah.
It's what do I put, a Republican flag up there? Is that how I represent? Like, hey, this is where I stand.
Yeah, there's
how
not
do you
a
represent
good,
it.
There's not a good Republican flag that makes people go, yeah, he's Republican. Other than like the tread on me, maybe that might be some, but that's more military.
I guess, yeah. Do they make? I'll put a Reagan flag or something up there. I don't
Reagan.
care.
Oh, Reagan? Bush Reagan?
I'll put something else up there. I don't care. I just representation. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's just hope that DeSantis gets it this coming up. He's the Florida Republican that made Florida.
I would love someone. Sorry, Ray.
Wait, what?
Other than Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, I don't care. Like, I honestly don't care as long as it's not the current.
Yeah.
That's all that I really don't care. But
I'd love Tulsi to
Yeah, Tulsi would be the shit.
take it down.
yeah.
Fuck yeah.
I don't want, but you're
I would have voted for her if she would have made it past the fucking primaries.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
The veteran dude, she's smart.
Even if she was always toting the line of blue anyway, but, you know, I think they pushed her away
I would
from
take
that.
a good centrist all day long.
100%.
I was pulling for the mob on January 6th.
He leaned into the mic like he was like,
I was pulling for the mob. I was looking for a fresh start.
Y'all missed the spot.
No.
Joe Jorgensen.
Jan 6 2.0s will go a little different.
No.
We're organizing.
Yeah.
All I care, listen, when it comes down to it, I don't care who the person is in charge. If Biden was the one that was like in line with my morals and values, I'd vote for that person individual. It doesn't matter who's in the seat. It's just as long as they're within my morals and values and all that shit, that's the way you should vote.
So one of the things that I appreciate about where we live, yes, we're in a blue state and we lean more conservative. I think that's safe to say. We know enough people where a conversation, same thing we're having right here, is the most valued thing.
Yeah.
There's not the animosity because, hey, I love your kids, you love my kids.
Yeah.
It's America.
Yeah.
Sometimes the discussions can get heated, but if we can actually choose to care for the other person, well, it goes a long way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
I agree.
Yeah.
It sounds cliche, but that's one of the biggest takeaways I always get from a trip like this, especially after COVID and just we're the most divided we've ever been. Go out on the road. Go be around just different parts of America for 2 weeks, a month this time. We're not that divided. That's all. And I hate it's all news, whatever. It is, man. They paint a picture that's just
that
not
shit
quite
off.
there.
Yeah.
Just get out and live. Turn your phone off. Ignore it. Find a way to do it. And we're not as bad off as they make us seem.
For sure.
They really want you to think we are.
Correct.
Yeah, and coming from the road, that's probably there's never probably a truer statement when you've been on the road for as long as you guys have been. You're like, this shit doesn't translate to what I'm seeing.
Yeah, when you talk to people that live where they're at and they tell you about their problems, the things that are going on, like specifically in their neck of the woods because of said policy or said, regime.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, you get to understand it pretty quick, but it's crazy when like I said, a lot of these towns out here, I mean, every city is blue, and then every suburb on out is red. You know what I mean? It's just like, to me, it just gets annoying. I don't give a fuck.
And if
I do give a fuck, but I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I know. You have
Equally.
to, but you don't. I know.
Yeah.
And if it feels like it's one of those things you can never get away from it, another thing, go get on the road for 2 weeks. The buddies' stories that I see that piss me off every day is I'm taking a shit when I wake up. I'm not seeing them. I'm not checking Instagram like this on the road. If you need a break from all the noise and everything, go on the, whether it's in your Jeep, your bike, whatever. I prefer bike. Go get on the road for 2 weeks and just hit that reset button. Everybody says it, but this is a reset. Like, I haven't gotten mad about shit that I can't control in almost a month now. And it's a beautiful thing.
Get out of cell service.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Well, tell everybody how to find you, man. We've done plenty.
Oh,
We've
shit.
done plenty.
Yeah, I'm more than sure. Harley Showcase, Harley_Showcase.
And you do
Instagram.
lives every which day? Because I know you do more than just one day a week, right? You do Sundays?
Primarily just Sundays, like at 6 p.m. is when I try and do them. I think I'm going to switch it all over to YouTube.
Yeah.
Instagram Live is kind of dying, I guess. So I think I'm going to switch everything over to YouTube. But for right now, it's still Instagram. But it's still YouTube, Spotify, all that stuff.
If they go to your Instagram now, they can find you'll put the links to go to.
Or go to the website,
Yeah.
HarleyShowcase247.com. There is where you will find the links and even links to just the videos, everything. You'll find everything there, merchandise,
Nice.
everything there. So,
Dope.
yeah, I appreciate that, homeboy.
When's Live Fast Rally next year, you know? Yeah, you figured it out?
So, like Ray said, what we've been contemplating for a number of years is actually a spot where we can camp. Kathy may let us do that at the ranch. We'll see. But we're looking to grow slowly and keep that culture alive.
Fuck yeah.
Live Fast Rally, that's us.
Nice.
I don't do much of the social media stuff myself, but yeah.
But they have a page, follow them. It'll give you all the information for sure.
Yeah.
Good times, no doubt.
Yeah.
Well, appreciate it, dude, and it was a great time. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you stopping by, man.
Thank you, Jason.
And safe on the rest of your trip.
I want to thank Ray and David for coming out, doing the podcast, sitting down, and having this conversation, as difficult as it might have been at first. I think we've all come to a good understanding, and moving forward, it'd be really awesome to see, just more interaction with the two different sides of the country, if you will. Had a great time in California getting these podcasts and hanging out with the homies, and really hope you guys are enjoying these episodes. If you want to support this podcast even further, go to the description below. There's a link to our Patreon where you can support it and get unreleased content that we put on there. So check it out. I want to thank you guys once again, and we'll see you back real soon on another episode of the Fast Life Podcast.